Do you want this in character? I should ask the very first time we did this. Let's do it in character. I feel like it's a little bit funner. Okay.
All of us or just her?
I mean, you can decide who you want. I am Merilla. I am a powerful sorceress, perhaps the most powerful in the world, but you don't have to believe that. It's all right. It's your life, not mine. I have been traveling with these people I met just sort of randomly in a goblin camp, and the goblins tried to eat us. But it's alright because we all survived, largely due to me, but that's not really that important either. I am a bard by trade. I travel over the continent of Collinbur, and I love unicorns. Someday I must meet one, but they might not want to see me. We'll find out.
Sure, I can definitely go next. So, hello, my name is Douse. I am a Watajanasi monk. I hail from the. Hold on, I need to find it. I hail from Nero, a monastery that is underwater up in the northern oceans. I normally don't come out to the surface much. I usually visit to go help out with business deals or whatnot, just a little bit on the shore. But usually I spend my time studying and learning about the wonders of, I forget the goddess. I am so bad. How am I blanking on the goddess? Um, anyways, I'll figure out the goddess here in a sec. But yes, recently I've become of age. I am 18 years old. And I was sent out to go visit the other monasteries of the fire, wind, and earth, which are scattered throughout this continent. Along the way, I ran into Merilla, this old lady, and
Yes, this one.
yeah,
Not that one. This one.
and that was the start of when we ran it, started getting to one thing led to another. And now I'm part of a group, and we are, I don't know how long I should be postponing this pilgrimage of mine, but we are now visiting other people and going on other quests. It is really weird.
Dusty time. I'll do it in character. We'll go with that. We'll see how much I can get. Uh, Hi. My name's Dusty. I come from the desert. Been there for a good portion of my life. It's where I learned to be a druid and cast spells. I found a love of nature and of life, and I kind of was picked up and placed into this situation with these new friends of mine. Um, we've been traveling for a little bit. We've been through some stuff, and we've even saved some people very close to me. And that is one thing that matters a lot to me. If you're able to get on my good side, you'll stay there. Um, Aside from that, I guess I'm relatively normal. I don't think there's much special about me, but
I think that's the most dusty thing you could have said.
well, either way, I'm excited to continue adventuring with these my new friends and share and learn more about each of them.
Ooh, that's a good question, Scarlett.
Very good question, Scarlett. Um, it
I mean, I know one.
There is one way. There is one way. I don't like people getting too nosy about me.
Oh.
It's just something that bothers me. You got to be careful. But I mean, if we're good friends, I'll talk to you and I'll answer your questions. But Don't pry. They're good friends. They've talked.
They were already friends before she got too nosy.
Nuri, little canon, little lore bit for you. Nuri knows more about Dusty than anyone else in the campaign.
Really?
Yep.
Wait, what?
I'm not
Even more than the
surprised.
Tough Hammers?
Yeah, actually. Even more
What?
than the Tough Hammer. Yeah.
That's so mind.
Emily, apparently they couldn't hear you, or Scarlett in chat said she couldn't hear you. She said they said top right screen.
Top right. That would be Sierra. Oh no. She's the important one. And she's going next.
And I'm muted, so I don't. Well, I have Twitch up, but it's muted, so I have no idea if I can hear it through mine or not.
Hmm.
I can hear you. Hold on. Either way, you got to try to get on Dusty's bad side or play your cards very, very wrong. He's just a happy person. He's just a nice person to be around.
He's just a wee soft boy. Kind of. I mean, I don't know. That just occurred to me earlier.
Yes.
I was ruminating.
I've actually kind of modeled Dusty the way his character is, at least like how he acts towards other people. The reason like he's so friendly and so outgoing is it's just kind of like built into him. Like it's just an inherent part of who he is. So to break that would be to take like a big chunk away from him, you know? So
Just funny because like in the very beginning, he's kind of very quiet and almost reserved. But yeah, like it still makes sense, but it's funny like when you see that other side.
yeah,
It's very cool.
I've tried to be very deliberate at how I present Dusty because there is like very obvious mystery about him.
Yeah,
and I
like
want to
what
put
race
out
is he? He's covered in
enough-
wrappings.
I want to put out enough that someone would be able to add it up and figure it out. But right now, there's probably enough within the sessions to figure out like what race he is with some like what's it called? Metagaming. You could metagame his race, but that'd be so boring.
I mean, I have a full-on theory.
I will not confirm or deny any theories. In fact, any theory proposed to me, I will respond with, I have stated I will neither confirm nor deny that. that's all I'll respond to.
Just eyebrow wiggle.
Yes. But it's fun.
The one thing I am terrified to see is the day that Dusty gets upset. Like,
Oh yeah.
and just rages.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad.
It's one of those.
I have some fun things for it. I'm actually excited. I want someone to make him that upset. Like me and my brother, we were brainstorming. Like, what does he do? Oh. Oh, that's what he does.
It's always the quiet ones.
It's like those videos on YouTube where they have like the different anime or superhero stereotypes, and there's always the quiet kid one, and it's like crazy. Like what happens when these different kids get in a fight?
Exactly that.
What about Merilla though? She doesn't have much of a history, like a mystery in her background though. But she does have the blue lines on her face.
She does have her markings. They're not tattoos. That's what people have asked. But yeah, it's really funny. Well, we've all seen
Anything?
Merilla get upset. I feel like she gets upset, not like super upset, but like comically upset fairly frequently. So that's like just a normal thing. I feel like it happens at least twice every episode, maybe.
Scarlett is asking what those are.
Oh, okay.
If
So
you're willing to go over
Merilla,
this.
I forgot to mention when I was introducing her, but Merilla is a human. Don't ask her age. I'll just tell you. It's like she's around 73.
Old.
You're lucky I'm not role playing her right now, man. Anyway, so she what Marilla has said about herself so far in the campaign is that she'll never say when she was born. She'll always refer to when she woke up. And she'll have people that she calls her family, people that she calls her father, and stuff like that. And when she woke up, she had these blue stripes basically down her cheeks from the bottom of her cheekbones to the edge of her jawline.
More stripes.
More stripes.
Is that their official name now? More stripes.
Doesn't I missed this. Doesn't Nuri's husband didn't she reveal that her husband had something like that?
Yeah,
Also,
Nuri's husband, a dark elf, right? Also had markings. So we don't know what color it was and whatnot, but yeah, they glowed once when we were in a certain fight that we'll talk about later, and Merilla used an ability that Echo let Merilla borrow in order to get people from one spot to another spot.
Has she revealed if she had them before she woke up?
Marilla has never talked about before she woke up.
Okay, so she's never even talked about that.
No, I think Merilla, not Merilla, I'm sorry, Nuri tried to Nuri tried to almost ask about it, but then the conversation went a different direction. So I guess maybe you could call them birthmarks, Scarlet E. That's the closest thing we have at this point. She literally woke up with them. If you want to call that her birthday, then yeah, they're kind of birthmarks.
Oh.
Just blue birthmarks.
Sierra, you're my character because you have to introduce your character now. You have to introduce Nuri.
Yes.
Scarlet E, can you hear me now? Maybe not. We'll see. Otherwise, I'm gonna just start talking and it'll just be me blabbing and no one will know what I'm saying.
Yeah, she can hear you.
Yeah, that's all for Scarlet.
I found a loophole in the system. Okay. In character, let me see. I'm Nuri Tamaron. I'm a elf. I have really pretty pink hair. I'm super married.
Super married.
In case you were wondering. I have a son. I'm super interested into learning anything I can. I take notes all the time. You'll always see me doing in my spell book. I have a really cool pen that I generally use to cast spells. Little bit of a necromancer. Yeah, necromancer. You can say I am. I just dabble in it. Not necessarily. It's okay.
That's what she says.
Some say I have no sense of personal space or timing. But honestly, I think people just need to be more direct. And that's all. Dusty's a really good friend. Amaris, she's not here right now, but she's my cousin. She's super cute. She had a sister, which we'll get into, but that sister's now dead.
In a coma.
Amaris. Sorry, what?
Her sister's in a coma. Not dead.
Unless we want to go with Marilla's theory. But that's not now.
They're still alive. We've been over this. Let's see. What else about Amaris do I know? She's a really good bard. Super good. She's also kind of in trouble, I guess.
Wait, what? How do we know that?
Can our characters
She
use the
always puts up
information
her
we
hood.
can we use the
Oh,
information we
Amaris.
learned
I'm sorry. I
here?
thought you were talking about Nuri.
Oh,
Oh no,
Sorry, Greg.
Nuri's not in trouble.
can we use the lore we figured our characters? Is this canon? Is this canon?
That what? Nuri's in trouble?
No. Like our characters are overhearing this conversation. Is this canon?
No,
Dang it.
no, it's not canon.
Only these 4 characters are breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
I love this. Amaris. Yeah, she's a really good bard. She's kind of in trouble, so every time we go into, if they know about her family, she like wears a hood. Had a sister. Lots of mystery stuff around her that we don't know. But it all comes back to her. We thought we're twins, but we're actually triplet sisters. We'll get into that in the recap.
We're
Yes,
triplets.
there's a very super valid reason why we didn't know.
Exactly.
All bards think they're really good. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
this is very true.
actually, I feel like if you, I'm speaking for Amaris. I don't know if she'd say I am good.
She'd probably say I'm fabulous, but I'm just kidding.
Well,
That's
that's so
what Nuri
funny.
would say.
Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Merilla doesn't sing on purpose because she knows she's not that good, but she doesn't think she's bad. Anyway, but there's like almost like a rival adventuring gang, Scarlet E, and they have a bard, and his name is Gippy the what is it? Gippy the
Yeah,
Oh,
Or something.
Gibby
Gibby.
or something like that.
Gippy
Gibby.
the Great. And he's
Yes.
this super
Hold on,
flamboyant kid that
Gippy the
absolutely
Great.
thinks he is the bee's knees, and he will rant
I have it right here in my
about
notes.
it.
Gibby the
If you're willing
Bard,
to listen.
annoying gnome who claims to be the best gnome bard.
He's
Yep.
a bard, but he actually goes by. So he's a gnome bard that calls himself Gippy the Great.
Yep.
I think Amaris was like fake flirting with him. It wasn't hard.
It wasn't
He's already-
flirt. It wasn't flirt. It was just having his attention.
Yeah, she was distracting him because we put in. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
Yeah,
we
that's
totally
gonna
tried
be
to
part of
like,
the recap.
sneak
Okay.
him.
Should we transition into the recap, or do we want to talk about anything
Yes.
else first? Since we keep referencing the recap, we're like, wait,
We do.
So
wait,
bard and necromancer. So
Oh,
Nuri
so
is the
Amaris,
kind of
Sorry.
necromancer, and Amaris is the bard.
who is Megan?
Yes.
She's not here right now, so I was just kind of
Yes.
introducing her.
yeah.
I should have made that more clear. My bad.
It's okay.
So I do have a quick question. Necromancer. So does that make? Are you playing as a sorcerer, or is that what class is that considered?
She's a wizard. Nuri is a wizard, but she
Okay.
is taking pretty much all her spells, most of her spells, like half of her spells. Okay, half her spells are necromancy spells, and she's like
Okay.
studying death and like, yeah, I just take necromancy spells.
I mean, it super fits with her backstory. So
I actually
does.
really enjoy that. That makes me very happy. I like how that
52%.
Exactly.
Wait, okay, great. I'm a little confused. What did you say made you happy? The fact that she dabbles in it? Wait,
No, that she like has necromancy. It's like a plot relevant thing that is expressed in how she's played. I just think that's really clever. I really like that. I enjoy that.
thanks. Okay, we're going to go into a recap. We're going to do it in 2 parts. So I'm going to do the first part that kind of revolved about, how would you describe that?
how we got, like how we first met, and then our first
Yes.
our first mystery, if you will,
Our
Yes.
origin story.
origin story.
Yes. I don't know. I feel like the first 9 sessions is our origin story because we just got our name.
Oh yeah. fighting over the
Right.
name for like 2 months.
Oh, what is it? Was it the when someone is not parole, but they're on like it's a trial before they start. Oh, what is the word I'm thinking?
I have
That's
no
a-
idea.
Test run.
It's our test run. It's
Alpha, beta.
it will come to me like in 30 minutes. I'll be able to say it, but it's our
That's
precursor.
Well, to get into it, our adventurers woke in a goblin camp. They were kept in cages and they had to work together, sort of, to get out, where most of them almost died. But they got out. They killed one innocent at this time. It was an older woman, and Merilla killed her because she used electricity on the cage to kill the goblin captain. But the old lady was leaning against the wall as well.
The other old lady. She was like 40. She wasn't really old.
She was middle-aged. Yeah, so she died. We
Merilla felt
escaped
really
the
bad.
cages.
I just want to put that in there. She felt really bad.
She did feel really bad. Then, as they were having their heroic moment of surviving and the goblins were running away in fear, this other group appeared called the Fearsome Threesome, which kind of bothered Merilla, just so you know.
Yes, she calls them the Fleesome Threesome.
So it is made up of a red dragonborn named Anira, a Meg human barbarian, a gnome bard called Gibby the Great, who's very full of himself,
Yes.
and a red dragonborn male who is the leader, and his name is Dash. And there is a furblog named Shade. I honestly forgot about the furblog until this moment.
She's like the rogue one of their party, right?
She the barbarian?
No, the human is the barbarian.
Yeah, that's the one that was like, yeah.
Either Shade is a cleric or a rogue.
Oh, the Fleabird? The furry?
The furbolg.
I thought she was a rogue. I don't know. I do know that she was the one, like, when we went to go bury the woman that Merilla accidentally undid her lifespan. She was like, she actually like went and started, and she's like, wait a second. You do this. Yeah. Anyway. Like nobody asked her, she just did it. Anyway.
That was pretty funny. Yes. So this group, the Fearsome Threesome, is from Avon's Edge, and they gave us this flyer, which Nuri was convinced it was just so they could get some benefit if they got other people to join. They took all the credit for killing all the goblins, even though we had killed most of them. But that's because we were not a real guild. Not a guild,
we were not registered yet.
Yes, we were not a registered group.
Yeah.
And we had not taken the quest, so they got all the money and the glory, and they did like nothing. And we were like, it's fine. So we get invited to the Avon's Edge. And we go to the Avon's Edge. We meet a whole bunch of different people there. But the ones that are of most note is, oh, okay. Let me try not to mess up their names. Kaya, who was the guild master. She was a tabaxi. And she had a daughter named Trixie. And her husband, how do you, Novak?
Yes.
Novak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guild Warden Kaya's husband is Novak.
Novak.
I'm sure
thank
nothing
you.
bad will happen to Kaya.
Nothing bad. And the other really one of note was
The halflings?
oh no, I think it was Meg, the barbarian, wasn't she? No.
She was there in that episode. Her and Douse had a funny conversation. Like that's how we
Yes.
found out about the party that was happening.
What was her name again?
The
The
second
one we
in
were
command,
convinced
Dorothy?
was evil. Yes.
Dorothy was
Dorothy.
second in command, and then First and Acre were the halfling siblings.
Yes, thank you. I have so many notes. I'm like trying to pick out the names
Scarlety,
specifically.
side-eye, yes, correct.
So at this Abin's Edge party where they were celebrating the capture of the evil bandit Big Nose Jack, who the party, the Valkyries, had stopped. The Valkyries went home early, so our party never met them, but we interacted with lots of people, and we were asked by Kaya to come back, and she would get us started on our first quest, and she could get us involved in the guild, and it was all exciting. And we had some crazy shenanigans there, trying to sneak into the back, which totally failed, and just getting to know everyone.
Fibbing
we
about
go
not
back-
being able to find the
Oh.
bathroom.
Yes, there was a lot of talk about finding the bathroom, which no one needed. So they go back. The maid invites them and like, okay, Kaya's ready for you. So we go back. The chairs turn to us, and we're like, Kaya, we're here, but nothing happens.
It's silent.
Silent as the grave.
Good. No, different answer.
Sorry, my own little joke there. So the chair turns around, and Kaya is dead. Like, super dead. Her jaw is completely removed and laying in her lap. Her heart was cut out, was gone. And there was white powder on her head. And there was, after we did some investigating around, we found a pendant, we found a bloody knife.
Her jaw was missing as well.
Yes, her jaw was
Yeah.
in her lap.
It was in her lap.
Oh, yeah.
And we found files of Big Nose Jack that was in front of her. Well, at this time, Trixie comes in. I don't know why. And she freaks out
Worst.
because she just sees her mom is dead.
And
And we
gruesomely
look
dead.
very guilty. We've just been
Super guilty.
investigating this quietly, told no one. She runs out of the room, and Douse is like, wait, stop! And he chases after her. And which makes it look even worse because he's chasing Trixie out of the room where it looks like we just murdered someone.
Mhm.
It was great.
Yeah.
So Dorothy and Novak, they come into the room. There's a whole bunch of arguing and accusing. We get our way out of it, being like, hey, it wasn't us. Let us help investigate.
Amar
Dorothy's
is
watching
convinced
us.
Novak.
Novak did roll a natural 20 on his insight check. Can we talk about how he rolled? He comes in, his wife's dead, we're the only one in the room, and he's just like, I'm gonna trust you.
That's true.
Only a
that could
natural
happen.
20. Wow.
The
Novak,
sole
what a
reason
guy.
we didn't immediately get put in cuffs.
Yep. We were
You know,
very
that's so
lucky.
true. There was a lot of talk about how Novak had lost a knife, and before we had met with Kaya, he had been arguing with her, but then there was Dorothy, and it seemed like maybe she had a thing for Novak, maybe, we don't know.
I still think so, but less so now.
Less so. But if Kaya died, then Dorothy would be the one to take over the guild.
Yeah.
So it was like she had lots of motive.
Super sus.
Super sus. And it was Kaya's fault that the whole guild had kind of fallen apart. Well, not guild, party. They were all in a party. And then Novak and Kaya decided to disband the party so they could have a kid and a family. And so everyone else, Dorothy and
Earth and Acre.
Earth and Acre and another person, we're all really upset about this. The other person's not that important.
Was there another person?
I thought there was.
In the Blazing Blades, their adventuring party?
Yeah. I don't know.
There was Novak, Dorothy,
Kaya,
Kaya, and then the
Dorothy,
two gnomes,
Oh, maybe it was just them.
halflings.
Yeah.
halflings.
Maybe it
No,
was just
I thought
5.
they had someone
I feel
else.
like
There was
there's
like a fur blog in their group too or something.
As
There
well as
might
the
have been.
threesome threesome?
Oh well, it doesn't really matter.
Well, we never see them.
Not important.
Maybe they died.
If they were real or not, I don't remember. They weren't.
They
that
might have played
important.
They might have played a guard at one point, or keeping us in the room,
Yeah.
but from outside. So we would have met them. If we
Oh, are
left,
you talking
but
about the lizard woman
yeah,
that was eating the heart
Possibly. Maybe.
Yes.
outside that
no,
Douse spoke to? Because she was there too.
she was creepy.
And she was creepy. I don't think she was part of the party though.
Foreshadowing.
Maybe
She
she
was
was.
I mean, she
eating
wasn't part of the
heart.
Blazing Blades, the elite adventurers.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
she wasn't.
Oh, also wasn't Kaya's like heart removed as well? I feel like that was it.
Yeah. We went.
Yeah.
Which
'cause
was
it
why we thought the
foreshadowing.
lizard might have done it, because the lizard talked a lot about eating hearts and how that was the best part
Mhm.
of
Completely
someone.
creeping out Douse.
Who was always after recipes.
That's true.
That was his big thing. Is like coming up to the service. He's like, "Wait, you can cook with fire? You can cook?" And that's why he loves recipes.
Oh, okay. Merilla doesn't know that. I'm gonna have to remember that.
That's so awesome.
So the pendant. Sorry, I'm getting right back into this.
Yeah, good. Sorry.
The knife was discovered to be Novak's knife, which seemed to be the murder weapon. Their pendant in the corner was for some trickery evil goddess. So it's like,
Larium.
what's this doing here? What'd you say the name was?
Hilarium.
Larium. Yes. That
Goddess
woman.
of calamity, secrets, and a few other evil things.
Yeah, I wasn't super detailed in my player notes.
Every-
Plus, Nuri's notes are just way
Goddess,
better. Anyway.
Secrets, lies, stealth,
Let's
greed.
see.
Yep.
Oh, man. I should just read my notes, you know. There's so much in.
Chapter
Fun fact, the Blazing Blades was the group
Yeah.
that Novak and Kaya disbanded, and that happened 18 years ago. They saved Sunshield, which is a town.
Yes, it's one of their like most famous accomplishments. Right? Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was like what they were most known for. And Novak, of course, was a rogue with lots of knives, which we found his knife with his name carved into it, because he carves all his knives with his
With
name.
his initials, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the white stuff we figured out through Merilla to be a very deadly poison that you only get in the south.
In the south. Mhm.
South, which the only people who'd really been down there that was at that place was the Blazing Blades members. So that was where all the suspicion was coming. Okay. So there's the two halflings. The maid said that she had she had seen someone in a cloak who's tall, skinny, and small feet. So it was like, Novak, right?
Right? He's
But no.
super tall. He's not a Khajiit. Gosh darn it, he's a Tabaxi. He's a cat people. So they have like the small feet, right?
Yes, they have small feet. But Nuri then proposed the idea where it was like, wait, maybe it was two halflings stacked on top of each other with a trench coat. And everyone was like, nah, it was Dorothy.
Merilla 100% was sold that it was Dorothy. She's like, nah. It couldn't be Novak. Doesn't matter if the knife has his initials on it. Doesn't matter if it has his paw prints on it, which it didn't. But if it did, she still would have been like, nah, it's not you, man. You're innocent.
Quick question from Silver Dusk to Dusty. What's under
Yeah.
your bandages?
I saw that one. You're gonna have to be very close to Dusty to figure that out.
Literally?
I mean, technically,
So if Merilla somehow finds out an excuse to hug Dusty.
You
I'm gonna give you a hug. Does like a full body like
just like
This super like
takes
twice her height?
yeah, because like basically he's got the bandages on his arms and then like covering his head. He has like a leather type deal, just like a cloth around his waist, which also has bandages underneath, but that's irrelevant. But I can't tell you. You'll have to figure it out. That ruins the fun. You have to figure it out. There's lots of hints. Look for the hints. You'll figure it out. Until I reveal it. I'm excited. I'm excited for that reveal. But
Nice attempt, though. That was a sly move. Let's see. Back to the murder.
Yes, murder mystery.
They go to get the cleric to maybe revive Kaya and prove that we weren't the ones who did it. And they claim that they never separate from each other and the brother doesn't talk very much. So they leave, and Nuri has her owl. What's it called?
Familiar?
Yes.
Houdini.
Houdini.
The familiar to follow them. So the twin brother sister halfling duo, they split up, which is contrary to what they said they did. One did go to the cleric place, but then like she vanished. She wasn't really there. And the brother like went into the alleyway, vanished into the darkness. Suspicious. Then we went through the papers of Big Nose Jack and realized that the stuff that was missing was exactly where he was held and what kind of guards and traps there were. And we're like, oh, they're going after Big Nose Jack. And so we run to the town jail? Dungeon?
Jail? Technically prison?
Yeah.
Guardhouse? No? No, not guardhouse.
No.
Yeah. So we rush into this place. Everyone's unconscious, all the guards. And so we're going around trying to wake up the guards. Dusty brings this totem head of a unicorn, which totally mesmerizes Merilla. And he starts bringing up all the guards with a little berry. So they have only a little bit of health, but they're all coming up. And we go through right up to the part where all these traps are, and the guards tell us, hey, there's traps there. And we're like, okay. And then Nuri had this great idea. She's like, guys, there's only one way in. There's only one way out. If we just wait here, they have to come past us. And like they'd stop Big Nose Jack. That was her idea. But Douse said, no, we should go forwards. There's more ways they could get out through magic. Like, no, we need to go forwards. So we
don't know what they're doing. Are they rescuing or killing or what?
That's a good point. So we dilly-dally, going back and forth on this, kind of go forwards, but then everything gets like cold and dark, and you just get this icky, evil, blech feeling. And everyone's like, oh no. And like the building kind of shakes. So we rush forwards, we open it, and no one's in there except for the body of Big Nose Jack, who has been obviously brutally been murdered and tortured to death. His big nose has been cut off, very similar to how Kaya's jaw was cut off. And it was lying on the floor, and on the floor as well was a black feather at his feet. The guards told us afterwards that there had been two short people they had seen going in. One had just come from the shadows in a cloak, and the other one had just like come in. Arrows. Let's see.
Someone playing Frankenstein.
Sorry, what?
Oh, sorry, it's just Scarletty's comment.
Oh. Like
You take parts from Kaya, you take parts from Big Nose Jack, and you can create this horrible amalgamation. I mean, that's just a thought. I mean, Nuri could do it, probably.
I mean, I am a necromancer. So
That's
Me-
awful. Wow, bad thought.
Oh, also something if I might add, when we found Big Nose Jack, like he was tortured and like brutally dead, but also it was like there was a lot of anger you could tell in like how he died, more or less. Like it was vicious.
unnecessarily vicious.
Extremely unnecessary. Yeah.
So at this time, Novak and Dorothy come in. They had gone to the cleric's place, and I'm blanking on her name again.
First?
Yes, first was not there. Neither was her brother. And we're like, they killed Big Nose Jack. Oh no. So we all head out of there, try and catch them before they disappear. And we eventually found them sneaking back into the guild as if nothing had happened. And so that we stopped them, had this confrontation, and we could see just a little bit of blood splatter, like somewhere on Firth. It was like on her shoulder or something.
Her skirt, like, the bottom of her skirt.
Thank you.
I only remember because Merilla saw it. Yeah, oh, sorry.
No, thank you. That was on the skirt. We're like, haha, evidence. And so they got into this fight, and Nuri hid in the bushes and tried to help. Everyone else went up and was like being totally awesome and beating them down. And it got to a point where we subdued them. The brother was down on the ground, and then Amars had this epic speech about big monsters. First said that they killed Big Nose Jack because he was a monster. He deserved it. He had killed lots of people. He had killed their mother. And so they just did what he deserved. And then Amars was like, well, by your standards, you have now killed 2 people. And that makes you a monster. And it was this epic thing. If you want to watch it, Megan made a really cool animatic for it. Go see it on Rosemary PG Studios. Super cool little speech. It's awesome.
Fancy. Incredible.
Top notch. So the night comes to an end as the morning is rising. And the halflings have been arrested. Our names have been cleared. We start learning a bunch about each other, such as Merilla woke up 12 years ago.
No. She woke up when they guesstimate she was about 12 years old.
Yes, thank you.
She looked like a 12-year-old.
Yes. I got it so wrong.
Okay. No, she didn't wake up 12 years ago. No.
She could have been a late bloomer and actually been 20 years old.
At this time, the guild is like, hey, you guys are actually pretty good. Okay, we'll give you a trial run quest so you guys can become a certified party and can take on quests and earn money and all that stuff. And at this time, we meet our babysitters. Echo
Babysitters?
And
Yes, the babysitters.
Nat 1 nerds. Let's go. The Nat 1 nerd arc.
Yes, Nat 1 Nerds was super awesome. Check them out. Fantastic guys. So that takes us up to session 4.
Yep.
Session 4. That's my cue. That's my cue.
4.
So our party has kind of gotten to know each other at least a little bit, enough that we're like, yeah, maybe we should be a party.
We
Merilla,
spent 2 days together.
2 days together. To be fair, we did solve a murder mystery together, and we're like, hey, we're not bad. Everyone kind of had their own motivation for it. Some took a little more prying than others. For example, Merilla wanted to retire. She's like, I'm done adventuring. I've done that. I'm good.
Oh, she's actually not an adventurer.
She's had her adventures, perhaps
Oh,
would be a
okay,
better
okay.
way of putting it. She's had her adventures. She's tired now and wants to rest. But with enough convincing, Dusty kind of pushes it a little bit, actually. The particular quest that they are given is in a desert town, and there are people he cares about there. So he kind of pushes it a little bit. And he's like, no, we need you. And so Marilla's excited to see Dusty's home. Everyone else is like, sure. Everyone kind of had their own reasons for coming. I'm sure Nuri's coming for. I mean, I can't
Or
really
Dusty.
speak for any. Yeah, I can't
She was
really
there
speak
just
for
for
anyone's
Dusty.
characters, but I kind of guess that's what it is. It's their relationship is a very mother-son type relationship. Let's not confuse this. Although it is very funny that for the first couple sessions it was confused. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Hence the Nuri is very married. We even have shirts now up for sale. But we all have our own reasons, and we decide, okay, let's go. We go with our babysitters, Val and Echo, who are introduced to us. And they are a little bit mysterious, but open. They seem to be pretty veteran adventurers. They've gone on their fair share of adventures and have been working with the guild for a while, long enough to be trusted to sit as, well, babysitters. For newbies like us and our party to become a full-fledged licensed adventurers group.
Licensed.
And from that point forward, we had to figure out a name for our group, which that was hard. That was the hardest thing we did the entire campaign so far, I feel.
Yeah.
That was some hard stuff. But we head off towards the desert. And a little bit about Val and Echo maybe would be good to say. Oh, you got Val. He's a little more well-spoken. Well, it depends on your definition. At first glance, he would seem like the person who would be really open, but he was actually a little more mild-mannered. And he and Echo would go way back. Seem to be good friends. Echo was a little bit mysterious, a hooded figure with wrappings of his own to keep him hidden from the world. And what he thought.
I don't remember him mentioning it, but he probably was.
Yeah. I don't know if he mentioned it, but it wouldn't surprise me if you, yeah, because they're both undead. We later, as minor detail, but different kinds of undead, but both undead. A vampire and what is it called? There's a specific race for the other one. Dampier and
it started with a D?
Dampier was
like
the
Dampier.
D one.
Yeah.
That one's Val, Dying Wish.
Oh, wasn't it like a wraith or
there's like some official race?
I don't think we ever knew the official race of, like, he was an elf. Echo was.
Yeah, he was an elf.
But then he was an undead now because he had to fulfill his last wish.
Yeah, very cute last wish. His family all died, and he had to avenge them. It was very cute, adorable. Anyways, we start our journey. We begin our trek. Our first time actually adventuring together, as in walking from location A to B. And it doesn't seem all too eventful at first until we camp for the night. And as we're setting up camp, we explore the area around a little bit, and we find some kind of ruins with these creatures who begin coming out from the ground and attacking us. Ghost-like creatures that seem to phase through the ground. So combat ensues, and we're able to dispatch them. But that's like I guess, our first combat as a party, as a group, an official legalized, seeking to be legalized group.
I mean, if we want to go back to our very first one, where we killed an innocent person. I was unconscious in the first round.
I mean, Merilla's a murderer. That's the title. That's horrible. We won't.
It's awful.
We won't.
That was a hodgepodge of mess. We do not count that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Only half of us participated, while the other half was still covered in a tarp.
Yeah. What was your character doing, Dusty?
Trying to kick down the door and
As a donkey, yeah.
It was sad. It was real sad. You're able to dispatch these ghosts. We beat them up, send them back where they came from, and sleep. Then we're on our way again. We make it to the desert town of Merilla.
Thank you. So I would just like to add that this is where we find out that Dusty is deathly afraid of bunnies.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because Merilla and Dusty kind of go like on the opposite side of the trail just to like, check it out, scope it, and like nothing's weird here. And then we find a bunny, and Dusty's like, oh my gosh, it's a bunny. And Marilla's like, yeah, it's a bunny. What's wrong with bunnies? Oh, they're horrible creatures. And Marilla's like, what the heck?
I mean, he's a druid also, which makes it a little bit more funny. And
I think so.
He's 6'7".
A bunny's
like
nothing compared to him.
He's like this giant man, and he looks down, and there's a bunny, and it scares him. It is kind of cute.
Also, Douse. This is also when Douse had technically his second encounter of his bracelet doing weird things.
Oh yes, the bracelet.
Oh yeah, during the fight. Yeah.
During the fight, his bracelet goes crazy and starts releasing all these like water whips that start like slapping him, and everyone just kind of was like, "Cool."
They didn't. I don't think they slapped me that time. It just gushed out uncontrollably and soaked everybody, and I hid behind a tree.
Yeah.
Kind of hid. Yeah.
I mean, as much as you can with giant tentacle flailing things coming out.
Yeah. Oh, Scarlet E has a good question for you, Douse. Scarlet asks, where did Douse get the bracelet from?
So,
really?
No one knows exactly where I've gotten it yet. That has not come up in one of our sessions. But they do know that I had received it from someone I suspected to be a friend. So it was a gift to me previously.
So previously it was a gift, now it's no longer a gift.
Now I'm not so sure.
Some weird egocentric being inhabits it.
So I, the player, I know what it is. Douse to him, he doesn't know if it's a gift anymore because of what it's been up to.
Yeah, suspected to be a friend. Quotation marks.
It was a friend at first.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess technically none of our characters know that it's sentient. We just know that it wigs out every once in a while.
Yep.
Those things. He's the only one who hears the voices.
Oh yeah, I'm crazy.
And so far, like he's only talked like not in our presence to it, so like we don't even know that.
Are we sure that like it's actually sentient, or is Douse just crazy?
Why not?
So the thing with the bracelet is I came up with an original idea, and then I gave Emily the reins to run with it and do whatever she wants. So the sentient part of it was not the original thing of mine. It was originally going to be an object that trapped a person underwater who gave it to me. But it is no longer that. It has evolved into something far different.
I enjoy it. I'm having fun.
Oh, same.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So then that fight, your bracelet kind of goes wild, Douse. We take out the spooky creatures. Nuri is surprisingly unsettled. I don't know why that's surprising me. Maybe it's just because she's like got the necromancy thing going on, but she's kind of unsettled by the undead.
He is always looking at the shadows.
Yes, she is always watching.
She is terrified of shadows.
Yeah.
She knows more about the dead than any of us. So
Yeah, which I mean really makes me wonder because like we were talking about Nuri's husband, Merilla and her, and she talked about how her husband more or less travels through shadows. But she obviously super loves her husband. She's super married, and yet she's afraid of shadows. So like, why is that a
When an
thing?
expert is afraid, you know you
Let's
need
just
to
have to
I've been
ask her
waiting for
in
Merilla
game.
to ask her. I just
There's so much lore. There's so much lore to be
Oh,
found.
I interrupted you again.
No. I'm just happy that our lore is getting explored. That's the best part of this. So we finish up the combat, we sleep, we head out. Dusty kind of, as you guys are approaching, like exiting the forest, approaching the desert side of things, he kind of picks up his step. This is kind of where we begin to see, oh yeah, there's someone that's important to him there. Lo and behold, the very person who's missing. The whole quest we've set out on is to find a missing person. Tax Toughhammer. And Dusty is very partial towards the Toughhammer family, some of his closest friends. And so they talk to the mom and, hey, where's Tax? Tax? Who's Tax? You don't remember your own daughter? No, I don't have a daughter. Oh,
But you have toys.
there's toys, there's drawings. Dusty even pulls out a drawing of Tax. He's like, look, you have a daughter. To which the mom gets emotional. And she's like, not like angry emotional, because she's good friends with Dusty, but she's like starts crying, but she like catches herself, sort of, more like she's forced to catch herself, I guess. And we're like, what is going on here? So we start investigating, we start looking around, and we begin to piece together this mystery that's going on and find out there's a little more going on than we think. More than just Tax is missing in this town, but nobody seems to notice. The town's has less people than Dusty or Val and Echo, for that matter. When they were last here, there's a lot less people. Maybe they left, maybe they moved. We didn't know. We go exploring, we look around, look for clues. It's starting to get a little bit late, so we head to the inn for sleep. We meet these wonderful bartenders, whose names are slipping me. Who's got the names?
It was
Brandon and
Brandon.
Mary.
Brandon and Mary. We love Brandon and Mary. I'm just bad with names. Brandon and Mary, they're the cutest couple ever. You've got one of them's like cashing the money while the other one's like pulling the mugs, and they're totally in sync. They're like this perfect couple. They've got super newlywed vibes. It's just everything's perfect for them. They love each other so very much, and nothing bad could ever happen to them because this nothing bad will happen to them, I'm sure. Anyways, there's the bard playing music. It's a nice tavern. We begin to settle in. We're ready for the night. We head into the tavern and we get ready for bed. Perfect amount of beds. We got 4 for the girls and 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the boys. 4 and 4.
Yeah,
which is we note is a little weird because there's only 3 girls, and the bartender says, "Yo, that's the perfect amount. That's crazy. What a coincidence." We're like, that's not the perfect amount. Happened
Are
in the
you sure you
last.
can count?
It happened in the last tavern too. Kind of weird. Probably irrelevant, right? Totally irrelevant. It wasn't irrelevant. So, next morning, we all sleep, wake up, we arise, we kind of get ready for the day. Also, during this time, Douse has some more bracelet shenanigans, I feel. Goes, takes a shower
was it
or
during the
something.
night?
It might have been. I might be
It
No,
might
thinking
no,
not
of
have
later
been
night.
that night, but it might
Not
have
yet.
been
No, no.
next night.
Yeah,
Because
but
I didn't start communicating with it until the next night. Yeah.
that's right, because you didn't think to talk to it. Yeah. So we wake up in the boys' room. Everything's relatively normal. In the girls' room, there's a little bit of chaos going on. Just a smidgen of chaos because they wake up and there is supplies on the fourth bed. And it's not any of the other players' supplies, which means someone was there. Someone got into their room while they were sleeping. So
Oh, the window was open also.
And the window was open. There was a flower on. Was that? Am I remembering that right? There was a flower.
Yeah, there was a flower on Amaris's bedside table.
Yeah, Maris's bedside, and there's just stuff, healing potions, a bunch of equipment that an adventurer might carry. Huh. So they're freaking out a little bit. They call Dusty in. Hey, Dusty, come look at this. Is this your stuff? No, I haven't been in your room until now. And oh, yeah, and we have this whole shenanigans. Also, Nuri has some. Amaris, she has some drama about her name. I think that's that night. Yeah, she's like, don't. Because in the stuff was some of her family's like crests. Like there was a ring of her family.
That ring was found by Douse on the way into town.
That's right.
The bag had like a necklace or something.
Potions.
Yeah.
That had the Leodon Shipping Company on it.
So having to do something with her family, naturally, she was pretty flustered. And so she kind of storms off. Dusty's like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm totally fine. And then just goes off and he's like, okay, she's fine. If she says she's fine, she's fine. Goes in, and then we put a pause on that mystery. We're like, that's weird. That's very weird. And then we go downstairs, and a bigger mystery happens. One of the bartenders is missing. Brandon is not there, which isn't that weird, except for the fact that Mary, Brandon's wife, is stumbling over herself a little bit. She's making gestures like she would while Brandon was there, and Brandon's not there. But she doesn't seem upset or surprised. She's just a little like, oh, I don't know why I'm so off today. This is weird. So Merilla investigates. And who's Brandon? It would be nice having an extra hand here. But I don't know who Brandon. Who are you talking about? Your husband. Your Brandon. Your husband. Oh no, I don't know who you're talking about. Douse just. Oh, I don't know why you're pestering her. He tries to help her. All these things, and there's no Brandon. Just no tax. We got this weird incident in our inn.
Nobody is remembering the people who are missing.
Nobody. And they're actively still disappearing. So we explore a little bit more. We go around the town. We talk to the town guard, or the town captain, I guess. He's like over all of the guards. And he doesn't have a clue. He's like, there's no missing people. What are you talking about? No, there's missing people. We're here from the Adventurers Guild. Okay, sure. Weird. That's weird. There's no missing people. Tax Toughhammer? I don't know who Tax is. Oh, great. And so then we keep going. We look for more evidence. Let's see. How do we first encounter? I believe Val and Echo split off with Merilla and Nuri. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's just with Merilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're like splitting up because there's also like houses that are like very
abandoned
unkept
houses.
Or like in shambles and stuff that are just completely empty.
Yeah. So you guys start exploring some of those houses.
And that was the same time that we were going to the captain of the guard
Yeah,
to
that's
talk
right.
to him.
Okay. So you guys are talking to the captain of the guard. Val, Echo, and Merilla. They go off to kind of explore some of the houses. And as they're exploring, they note some shenanigans. And around the same time, Dusty, Nuri, and Amaris find these dogs barking up a tree. Dusty, being able to speak with animals, is like, "Hey, what's going on? What are you barking at?" They say, "Bad snake. There's a bad snake." And then they dash off and start chasing the bad snake. We can't see a bad snake. Perhaps also important to note, we've been making weird wisdom saving throws randomly throughout the sessions after we entered the town. Back to Val, Echo, and Merilla. They see this like tentacle creature. Well, one of them sees it in a mirror. One of them has bread in their ears. I think that's where the bread. I think that's where
Merilla.
That's Merilla. She's got bread in her ears. And then one of them. Oh, yeah, Val. He's got the mirror, and then Echo just kind of starts going. He's got this sound thing. He casts silence on everyone, and they all turn and they see this tentacle, and they like try to make some shots at it, miss. It speeds off real quick. Around this time, we converge. We have the Val, Echo, and Merilla. They go behind the building. We come around and we match them. We're like, "Whoa, what are you doing here? This is crazy." We come to the same point, and they watch as the tentacle like slithers down a hole, and we're like, probably unrelated. No, of course
like
it's
that Merilla basically falls out of the window that she tries to crawl through. Okay, sorry, keep going.
She does.
Yes.
She does. So we've got a little more evidence now. We debate going into the hole. We heard something about there being mines underneath the town, so we figured let's go to the entrance of the mines. Now, during this time, Douse has been a little bit out of it, we've noted. He's kind of...
he wasn't out of it. He was very adamant that you guys were being crazy, and he was the sane one while y'all were going after chasing ghosts and weird things. And
yeah, basically, he's like that. Like, if the mom says tax doesn't exist, she's the mom. She would know. If Mary says her husband doesn't exist, it would have been her husband. Like, she would know. She would know if she's married.
The logic is like there wasn't anyone there.
So not only is this memory loss affecting the townspeople, but also Douse. Almost exclusively in our party, actually. And we find out sound has something to do with it, kind of from their encounter with that tentacle. They're able to see it when they can't hear. So they use that. We plug our ears, we go down into the pits.
Can I add a small note?
Small note, go for it.
Small note. This is where we figured out that Amaris had a sister traveling with us. Because Nuri looked back through her notes, realizing, hey, something's not adding up.
Oh, yeah.
And she had all these weird notes saying, Dane was at my wedding. Dane was at the goblin place. Dane was looking for her ring the night the ghosts attacked. Dane
Disclaimer.
saw that Amaris was upset last night and brought her a flower.
Disclaimer, not this Dane.
Yeah, not this Dane.
Dane the NPC.
Dane the NPC. And so we realized that this whole time we had another party member, Amaris's sister, that we all forgot about.
She's gone.
And yeah, now we go down into the pits of despair.
Pits of despair. Woo! So we got the pits of despair. It's a fantastic place. I would highly recommend visiting there. Some really cute creatures in there.
I might get a vacation home there.
Yeah, you never know. It'd be good. I feel good. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Bones everywhere. Corpses littering the floor. We're like, oh, this is very good. This is definitely where we're supposed to be. So we go down under. We're like, oh, Fantastic. Val, he's got this lantern that glows when there's aberrations nearby, which is a type
Monstrosities.
Monstrosities. Thank you. Which is like a monster type in D&D, so we know something's up. Starts glowing. He has this lantern that glows whenever there's one nearby. It starts glowing while we're in this cave. Not great. Not great. Oh, yes. From Scarlet, there are rodents that would be very horrifying for Dusty. I don't think we encountered any. We continue forward, looking around. We kind of explore. We find this skeleton that I believe Nuri's the one who cast Speak with Dead on it. Is it Nuri? No, it was Echo. Yeah. Echo cast Speak with Dead, asks it a couple questions. How'd you get here? What killed you? All the important questions. And we figure out there's some creature down here that's stealing people and killing them and eating them, give or take.
Eating them.
Quite delicious.
But they died before they could truly see what it was. So we still have no idea what it is.
We don't know what it is, but we know it's scary and killed them. And presumably everyone else here too. Ooh, spooky. So we continue forward, undeterred by the spookiness that is this giant place filled with bones. Very dark. Some people don't have dark vision. Cough, cough. Merilla and maybe Amaris?
No,
That was
I
Douse.
No, it's Douse, yeah. So we cast some light, we get some vision down here. We climb up some piles of bones. We go around, we maneuver our way through. We come to the end of a hallway, and looking down the hallway, we see this horrifying creature with like a million heads, indescribable monstrosity, abomination. The mind of a sadist came up with it. It's very cute, but
very humanoid faces with large,
just gross
blocks
gross.
of teeth, black eye sockets sunken in.
Just spooky. The gore with the murder mystery was bad, but that left an image. We also find, well, actually, we don't, not everyone finds it, because most of us go, we got to kill that thing. So Echo casts silence on the creature, and we go forward to what amounts to be a very silent battle. With silence cast on the room, the clashing of blades is muffled and muted. The screams of the creature completely quiet. We can tell it's screaming, but it's as if no noise was there. No wind, nothing. Honestly, kind of a horrifying setting in hindsight. And off in the corner, a few of us note a few people. Also, there's a corpse being eaten by this creature. We later find out to be a false Hydra.
May I add something?
Go.
One, that body was Dane. So she's dead.
Missing partner.
To answer your questions, Scarlet E, why cast silence? We had figured out that it was through noise, that it was erasing people's memories. And like as soon as you would see it, you'd forget it even was there. And so pretty much one of the only ways to fight it was to either have our ears deafen ourselves or cast silence on it, which was genius. Because some of us were just using our hands to cover our ears, which means we weren't useful in a fight.
Nope.
So, yes, continue.
Yes. So we begin fighting. Some of us find a small fenced area with a few people. Merilla recognizes Brandon. He's there and he's alive, and we're very excited about that. There's a couple sheep and a small half-orc girl, which presumably is the daughter of the Toughhammer family, which turns out to be
another little boy.
And
not super important, but he's there.
He's there. And we find another small boy there who also had been captured. They all seem very frightened, and we fight and fight and fight. and we throw this thing into the pillars of the room, knocking it down, dealing hundreds of damage and hundreds of damage and hundreds of damage, and it's just still standing. We cut off all its heads, and it's still standing. Like, this thing's not. It was a pretty intense fight. But did it? Oh, Scarlet, did it just lure them to be eaten? Good question. Theories.
So it more like hypnotized them in a way to like make itself invisible, if you will, because like we couldn't see it if we weren't deafened.
Yeah.
Even
So
like that's how important being deafened was.
it wasn't like an anglerfish where it has like a little attraction thing. To my understanding, it was a lot more like it was kidnapping people than it was luring them.
Yeah, exactly.
Hence why the
thing
window
is-
was open. So I came through the window. It's
The
fine.
thing is that later, so we actually kill the thing. We see this little ring on the bottom of its like little spindly legs, and when we break it, we identify it with spells as a sort of controlling device, which leads us to believe that this false Hydra was under the control of something else. So it could have been for food, but it was also under some kind of magical control, at least in part. So for food, probably, but there might be more to that. And we report that as soon as we can. So we take out this false Hydra. We continue through the dungeon. We say goodbye to our Nat 1 nerd friends. They overstayed their session allotment of 1 or 2, I think it was 2, by like 2 more, which we were very happy about, but we had to let them go eventually.
We milked it as much as we could.
We did. And for good reason. They're fantastic people. We also fight off a mimic. We get some magic items.
That was off screen.
And Dusty gets to reunite with Tax, which I was very happy about. And Brandon is there, and we're all so happy. We bring everyone back to the surface, and there is. Oh, it takes us a little bit because we have to drag Dane. When we drag the corpse of Dane back up.
Well, correction, Nuri drags the corpse.
Nuri hefts the corpse all the
and
way
Amari's
back up.
kind of helps.
Yep. We get it up, and there is chaos going on. Because, as it turns out, when everyone in a town where people have been disappearing for who knows how long realizes that they're missing loved ones, it sends them into a bit of a panic. And so, they're all panicking. Everyone's freaking out. Where's my husband? Where's my son? Where's my brother? Where's my daughter? Well, funny thing is, there's a lot of bones down there. Yeah, so there's lots of chaos. But we have someone who needs to be brought back from the dead. We don't have a lot of time because of how resurrection works in D&D. So Nuri kind of pushes past with Amaris, and they try to calm the situation, make it worse. But then the town guard, he cools it down. He chills the situation. He's like, guys, it's okay. We're going to get it handled. We're going to get it sorted out. Y'all need sleep. Take a snooze. And so everyone goes, okay, I guess so. I think he rolled like a nat 20 on that one too. And they're just like, okay, bedtime. Return to their homes, still distraught and worried as to what has happened. Yes, Merilla.
I also add that this is where Brandon reunites with Mary because she goes to the temple when she remembers that she had a husband and that he was missing. So they reunite. It's super sweet, just so you know. Okay, it was important. Cool. Thank you.
That session is so good. I actually really like that session because just
also,
it's so much sugar. It's the reward.
Sugar.
Also, Gerald the old man who
Gerald!
he was the owner of the dogs that we had found.
Reunited with his sheep.
Yep, his sheep
Beautiful.
were traumatizing Douse the entire way around, but
Licking him to death, yes.
they
Water.
wanted water, and Douse doesn't speak sheep, so he just ran.
Yeah. Dusty probably could have helped there, but that's okay. We did it. Everyone's safe. Townspeople are back to their homes. I've got tax. Dusty's got tax on his shoulders, which is a really common thing actually. And so Nuri and Amaris go to try and get Dane resurrected. And this is where a bunch of sad news comes in. So Vermilion, which is the setting our campaign takes place in, has a couple. Oh, this isn't Vermilion.
No, Vermilion was my last campaign.
Oh, this is not Vermilion. This is the Harbingers campaign. My apologies. Wow, Harbingers. That Vermilion's just whatever. Anyways, Harbingers. There's some nifty little things about this campaign. Mist, people dying, being resurrected, and not waking up, being stuck in a comatose state. Resources are scarce, especially metals like iron and, unfortunately,
Apparently
diamonds, which are required for resurrection spells. They're pretty pricey stuff. So, Nuri and Amaris go to try to get Dane resurrected, and they don't have the money for the gem, for the spell. Dang it. Bribery. Dang it. Didn't work. Bargaining. Didn't work. They went through all the 7 stages of grief, but bargaining. It was pretty unfortunate because they did not get it. Even down to the point where
You could
Amaris,
say she was bargaining, trying to get
not at this
diamond.
point. Not at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amaris even went to the point where she offered to give away her ring, which is like a really lore important item.
The lore.
She's like, I'm gonna give it away. But no. Actually, it would probably be here. It's not a wedding ring. I don't think. No, it's not a wedding ring. It was given to her.
Mars is like 2017.
Yeah, but Nuri did try to give up her wedding ring.
Yes.
Yeah, later on
and
when they went
Amaris
back.
was like, no. She hit with
And
all
the guy
heart,
was like, look,
no.
I'm not going to deprive you of your ring. Like,
Yeah. And this poor priest, he's doing his best. He's really trying, but he can't. The resources just aren't there. It's that we find out later it's his only diamond. So we're like, can you hold the body? We'll try to make the money up tomorrow. Okay, we'll hold the body. So they hold the body. We go back. We reunite Tax with her mom, who remembers Tax. Beautiful. Oh, this so sweet. So much milk. Oh, it was fantastic. I loved it. And it's just this beautiful scene. And Amaris is sad. For good reason. Her sister's dead. And she remembers her sister now. And it's even worse because she remembers her. And she goes off with Merilla, sadly, into the night. And Merilla is able to talk with her and perhaps soothe the air a little bit. And Amaris begins to play. As a bard, she rolls. Was it a natural 20? I feel like it was.
No, it was a 23.
It was a 23. It wasn't natural, I don't think. But
I don't. What?
who's counting?
It was still
It's
the
fine.
most beautiful thing you had ever heard.
It was so beautiful. She goes around the town, and the air seems to calm a little bit. This town is full of people who have lost loved ones. And Amaris, who has lost someone very close to her, puts her heart and soul into this piece, and she plays, and town settles down just a little bit. Things are going to be okay. And so they return after Merilla also tries to sing and doesn't do quite as well. And they return to the tavern. There's Mary and Brandon, happily together again, and we all sit and like talk, debrief. Man, that was crazy, wasn't it? Yeah, that was crazy.
AAR.
Yeah,
That was the night Douse went off on you guys,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah. It was.
Thank you.
Douse is the last one who comes in, and Douse is like, "Hey guys, yeah, so great
About
job out
today.
there, except Dusty, do this, and that.
It was
Nuri, do
Dusty.
this,
You took
that.
too long to get Tax home because we had her. We should have got like prioritized that. Nuri, you got into my business too much. Like you were not helping the situation when I was going crazy in the mines. There was a few other things I couldn't remember, but
Yeah,
he had to point out specifically some downsides to everybody. I was like, all right, we all need to get better. And that was also he could just try and say thank you for helping him in the dungeons because he's very proud. He doesn't know how to. He needs to keep himself up, and so that was he was trying to figure out how to actually say thank you, but not
Yeah.
let go of his pride.
yep. We point out that he fell for the false Hydra's trap and forgot everyone, but we were like, but it's okay. We actually take it really well. Nuri especially takes it really well, considering how frustrated she's been with this priest. And she's like, everyone collectively goes, yeah, we could have done better. And you too. You could have done better also. But we all could have done better. What did
And
we
then
do well? And then we all patted each other on the back, moving around the circle.
it turned from Douse trying to apologize, but also like express his gratitude into everybody being like, "You're doing good, like good job." He's like, "Oh no, I know that. I just wanted to say thank you." And they're like, "But you did great." He's like, "No."
Yeah.
Thwarted.
We all kind of finish up. Sleep. Wake up. It's a bittersweet morning, especially for Amaris. She doesn't really want to get up. Nuri comes in to the boys' room, kind of gets them up. Douse is taking a little bit as well. He did stay up late. I think that's where he was doing his bracelet shenanigans. Is that right? That's where he was like talking.
He did that before going to bed,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
you
I
wanted to
think-
talk to him that
Yeah.
night as well.
We can't skip it, but I think we're skipping a day.
Maybe we are. We're
Yeah,
skipping a day.
because like we go and we see Tax, and then Nuri and Amaris then do the stuff with
Yes, that's
Temple
totally
Solaris,
skipping a day.
and that morning is the
And-
morning that we leave.
Yeah, because what happens is we wake up and then we kind of start resolving some smaller things. That's when
Douse goes out to help the
out.
city.
Yeah, he goes out to help the city. The city's kind of rebuilding a little bit. And we have scenes with like Tax. We kind of split up into like 3 groups because we have the priest as well as Nuri and Amaris trying to finagle things a little bit, maybe gain resurrected. We have Dusty and Merilla and Douse who start baking bread, but before that, Douse like goes and like begins doing stuff with the town to try and help, and has some shenanigans with his bracelet again.
His bracelet almost
Jump-
kills him.
Yeah, his bracelet
Jumps
almost
into
kills
a
him.
well.
Very smart play by Douse, though. He's like, "You need me to get around. You can't kill me." And the bracelet's like, "Dang it."
That's a solid point.
So we get together, we bake some bread, have some cute moments with Tax, get some lore drops. Amaris and Nuri try to bring back Dane. We find out about this sort of middle place between the afterlife, and they have to, one of them, Nuri or Amaris, have to go in with the spell because we do eventually finagle the money. We offer magic items and they accept it. And so off Amaris goes into this purgatory, this place in between worlds. And there's this really, really cool role play session that proceeds. But this culminates in Dane being alive, but not awake. She succumbs to this sleep sickness that happens sometimes for people being resurrected, which Amaris does not take well. Nuri attempts to comfort her. It's hard to comfort someone who's inconsolable. And things are a little bit sad. Dusty comes in. He's got Tax with him. And they sit down for a bit, talk, some role play there. And we get this sort of bittersweet pause in between where things are good, but there's still mistakes. There's still offsets. We sort of realize we were slow. We probably could have saved Dane if we were a little bit faster. We were a little bit better. And that kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm just echoing Dusty's thoughts, but that's just kind of how he felt. He's like, that's unfortunate. In light words. Let's see. We also have, we help out the town a little bit. We report on the magical item to the guard. That might be the next day. But we kind of finish up the day there. Any other events that came from that day in particular? Would be good to put in.
No. That's just when Douse talked to his bracelets more, and then you stopped him and talked to him before you guys went to bed.
That's right. We consoled our feud. Which was
what was your feud about?
So you remember how I said to get on Dusty's bad side, you have to pry. He rolled a low on a higher low. He got the bad result from prying. So Dusty was not happy with Douse for a good while.
That was so he and I had met previously at the monastery from where I'm from. And so during that time is when Douse had been too nosy and had ticked off Dusty.
Yeah. Few too many questions. Not a great place. Dusty wasn't in a great place either. But that's for another time. But they kind of console things a little bit because Tax, acting almost as an intermediary between them, is able to convince Dusty, hey, Blue Boy's not that bad. And Dusty frankly agrees. He's not that bad. And
if Tax thinks they're good, they got to be good.
They got good in them. So sleep. We sleep. We get up. And that's kind of when we leave the town. We say our goodbyes. We gear up. And we head out, hopefully to come back for game sometime. We travel for a while. And we come across a rabbit salesman. Yes. Actually, Merilla, you have something.
No, your scene first. Your scene first.
Rabbit salesman. Yay. Dusty's spooked by rabbits. Hilarity ensues. These are magical rabbits he's selling. It's a tortoise selling hares.
It's just funny in itself.
I thought that was like, when I realized that, I bust a gut. I was laughing. But he needs help repair his wagon. We're all headed the same direction, back towards the town. Also, by this time, Val and Echo have officially departed our group. They left a couple notes with a recommendation letter.
A recommendation.
Yeah, a recommendation letter and a letter to all of us in the party. We read it. Very cute. I don't know if Douse ever read the section describing
No, because he was completely soaked when he first found out about it.
Yeah.
He was like, look,
totally slipped her head.
I
We'll have to
gotta
share
get
it to
going.
you. That's because it kind of roasts him a tiny bit. Everyone else is like, they did great. They were vital to the party. And then it gets to Douse. Douse is strong. Needs a little refining. So pretty good.
Scarlet says she doesn't believe that they are magical though.
Oh, the rabbits. Yes.
Yeah.
We take a rabbit out. The poor Easter session. We butcher a rabbit on the Easter session. Oh, what were they thinking?
So basically, they were meant for ingredients and food, and the food, when you use them, would give you a bonus.
Yep.
So Douse was all for it. He was literally interested, and then the first time he ever saw something get butchered,
So sad.
right in his front of him, he's like, "What?"
Trauma.
This
So
is where
while-
he comes from. What?
It was kind of one of those like the supermarket idea, where it's like, "Oh, you always go to the supermarket, you never see the thing get butchered," and then we actually see it getting butchered, like, "Oh, that's different."
Yeah, that's different. It hits different. Yeah. I will say, I wouldn't be surprised if Douse went vegan after that.
Oh no, he doesn't.
Yeah, I was about to be like, I don't know that.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking of Dusty's vegan. That's a question for another day. Anyways, so we keep going. The tortoise gets a little bit of head start on us. We eventually get back to Daggerford. I believe that's the town.
Dragondale is where the Tough Hammers are at, and Steel
Dragondale.
Glen is where
Steel Glen.
the guild is, the guild hall.
Yep. We return
Yeah.
to the guild hall, and let's see.
They
At
have a
the guild-
messy argument.
Yeah, we get in a messy argument because we go to the guild hall and there's this like really pompous windbag of an adventurer. Well, we presume he's an adventurer. Apparently, some noble guy, probably irrelevant. We
Yeah.
kind of diss him. He spells kind of low key. We're flinging between our parties. That almost was a combat, but it's okay. No one died. No one was injured physically.
It was
So-
a battle of wills.
Dusty tries to recover it. Guy's too pompous. It's fine. We go in, and we're here. We see Trixie. Yay! Her mom died. Yay! So
Yay,
good to
what?
see you again. And everyone, we all almost like together.
It was
like,
really
walk
funny.
around. We're like, Trixie, we're so sorry. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Still want to be an adventurer? Yeah. Yes. This is not the same Trixie we met before. This is sad Trixie. This isn't great.
I
Merilla
mean,
gives her.
I was gonna say, like, it's only been like 2 days since we last saw her. 3 days or so for it.
Yeah, like
It
3
hasn't been a
days.
week yet in the campaign, I think. So
Yeah, she's still sad.
Yeah. So Merilla kind of talks to her. We kind of get the feeling Merilla thinks she's going to try to avenge her mother. What would be really funny is if Trixie didn't think of that until Merilla started talking to her, trying to talk her down.
That's what we're hoping.
And then she goes, actually, no, yeah, that's a good idea. I should try to kill him.
Oh, wait. I misunderstood what you said.
So let's say Merilla tries to talk her down.
Well, see,
Trixie
and
hasn't even
that's like
fought.
the very reason why Merilla doesn't like. It's really hard for Merilla because she doesn't want to not say what she's thinking.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like she just really struggles with being vague with what she's trying to say. She's kind of like, just be a good person, do it for the right, be an adventurer for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And then
Little
So-
old lady tries to talk this distraught girl down from killing people. Distraught girl who never thought of it is like, yeah, this is a good idea because of mass murder.
Wait.
Yeah. She never specifically says don't kill people.
but with how heavily you imply it.
Okay. I don't remember exactly what
Pretty
I
laced.
said through Merilla.
we talk to her, try to calm her down. Dusty's there for emotional support as usual. And we get motioned by the maid to come to the back, talk to the guild warden. Go in there, and our friendly guild warden, she's facing away from us. We all, hey, how's it going? And she turns, oh, she's alive. Let's go. And so then we talk to her, and we're like, yeah, we did the quest. Here's our referral. Also, you might want to be wary. There's false Hydra. Here's the report on the thing. She reads the report. Oh, there might be someone bigger out there than this. Something was controlling the false Hydra, maybe. Debrief our adventure. And she says, well, reading these reviews from Val and Echo, you guys are pretty legit. Not too bad. Not too shabby. You guys did well. This was a little bit higher than we were expecting to send you on for your first mission, but c'est la vie, you know? And she's like, you guys are officially part of the guild after you come up with a name. And
so then Nuri pulled us into like a huddle.
Nuri pulls us into a huddle. What do we do? What do we do? What should the name be?
Mama Nuri!
Come up with like several names that we've thought throughout the campaign. Eventually, it's a coin flip between a very good name and a good name. And you get the very good one. So I'm biased. I'll admit it.
So was I.
We had the Zero Takers versus the Shards of Hope. And we came up with, on the coin flip, Shards of Hope. So good. So good. Oh, just a fantastic name. I can't give it enough credit to Dane, who I believe was the first one to even combine the names, but it's fine.
I combined it, but the other parts came from other names suggested.
Yes. So we all went up and signed our names. Dusty wrote down Dusty, which, you know, I'm sure that's his real name. And then we have he notes, and this is, I mean, you got the Amaris, she writes down Leodon, which is significant to Dusty, but we'll explore that next session. Scarlet, so curious, why didn't you just use your group name, Harbingers? Or is that for something else? Good question.
Can I actually take that question?
Sierra, go for it.
Okay, so this goes into the Rosemary PG Studio stuff.
Oh Lord!
So the Harbingers, there's more meaning for Emily, obviously, because she knows more about the campaign than we do. This was like the title of the campaign, but the meaning side of the Harbingers is, from a Rosemary PG Studio part, is that it means it's a person or thing. So in this case, it's our first D&D campaign that announces or signals the approach of another. So it's like the beginning of a whole bunch of stuff for us. So like that's the Rosemary PG side. And then the Harbingers is the title of the campaign Emily is running, which has more meanings tied into her lore and plot. But that is like separate from our party. I don't know if that makes sense.
Kind of like how there's Marvel and then there's the Avengers. It's like, it's not called Marvel and it's not called the Avengers.
Yes, exactly.
We'll find out exactly why it's the Harbingers, but currently we don't super
Insights.
know. But yeah, I like that. I like how like we technically just broke the fourth wall with the lore. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
We did.
Yeah, because like the Rosemary PG Studios side of it more than like just the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason behind the reason. Almost in a way.
That is pretty cool. I actually really like that. So much lore. It's so ripe with lore.
Also, speaking of lore, I just wanted to add in. So we know that Dane is in a coma and all that stuff. So also Nuri's son is in a coma as well, and it is the same coma. And that is how Nuri is able to kind of console the inconsolable Amaris after Amaris brings back, but technically doesn't bring back Dane. It's kind of complicated. You should go watch it so you can actually get all of the details. We're just trying to hit major plot points and comical relief moments too.
Very cool.
Which you can see a lot on the Instagram page for Rosemary PT Studios. Lots of reels on there.
Oh, there's that.
Which have been so nicely cut by Merilla. So thank you.
But that is where our campaign has paused for the moment until next Friday, of course, where we pick back up and do wonderful adventures. And I did see Megan in the chat. You have some explaining to do, Dusty, when I mentioned the Leodon name. Play your cards right. You might learn a little bit more about Dusty if you play your cards right with the Leodon name. So anyway, that's just my little thing.
So I get a very deep feeling that Merilla is not going to play her cards because of the Dusty. Sorry,
probably not.
But
I will have it be known. Nuri was like sitting there, and I wrote down what everyone wrote down on the document. And I was paying attention to everything, so I took note that Dusty was like, So she's on to that.
Yeah, that's right. She knows him as Dusty, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to double check.
Just Dusty.
Yeah, that's how most
Which
people
we know is not your actual name now because you got all suspicious about it.
Also, like when he was talking to Merilla about like, yeah, it's the name my parents gave me. In retrospect, I should have rolled insight, but oh well.
Gotta roll insight on these things. He doesn't have a high deception check.
Oh, good.
Tell from his body
Be
language.
careful. Old women are sneaky.
Yeah. Although I will, on an insight check, I will give you insight on his perspective on what he's saying. I won't necessarily tell you
That's
he
valid.
is lying or he is telling the truth. I'll make it fun for you. I'll make it fun for you.
And I don't think insight should do that, but I do think it can give clues to then figure out if it's one or the other.
It's reading a person, so when you roll insight, it wouldn't be like, oh, they're lying. It's like, well, their eyes are kind of shifting. They're
exactly. Like that.
Avoiding eye contact.
Body cues that you notice.
Reading intent. I've always seen it as like reading intent, where it's like for example, if you were to ask Dusty, like, what do you look like under your wrappings? He would give you some answer like, I don't want to talk to you about that. He's not lying, and you can tell he's uncomfortable by the question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're able to see that. Like this, that's what insight's been for me. It's just more like an intent thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now
I agree.
I believe the rest of our little, I want to say podcast. It's not a podcast or stream. We're gonna be asking some questions and just kind of chatting. So, I mean, you've been asking questions in chat, but definitely if there's anything in particular, don't wait. You don't have to wait for us to be on topic to ask a question.
Yes. So we're going to do kind of a fun thing, just so that if people didn't have questions because we answered them during the recap, we have questions to ask ourselves. So let's start with Merilla. Will you roll a D8 for me?
D8?
I was really
Are we answering these questions
D100.
in character, or does it depend on the question?
I guess it'll depend on the question. More of it's going to be as yourself.
Sometimes I get myself and Merilla confused. I'm kidding.
So to clarify for the chat, questions about ourselves, the players, and our characters are free game.
Our lives. Ask about our lives. Where did we come from? I don't know.
If you're wondering, I am not married.
Not in real life.
Now, are you dating Greg? Because Dusty and Nuri You know.
Oh my gosh.
Nova and Garrosh. It's just it loops.
Oh my gosh.
It loops.
It just keeps going. No, Greg and I are not dating. I'm currently single.
Me too.
I think we're all single Pringles. Anyway, so I got a 2 on my 1d8 roll. A dose.
What was it?
A 2?
2. Well, before that, does someone want to answer Scarlet E's question?
Scarlet.
I can answer it. That's cool. So, Emily and Sierra, where are you at? Lies, you're over there. Have kind of like a startup gig called Rosemary PG Studios, and we've all kind of like met in real life, and we all love D&D, and so we're just like more or less, hey, why don't we share our D&D experience with other people?
Mm-hmm.
Come and say, well, there's probably like a little bit more to that, which Sierra can then expound on, but that's my that's my understanding.
This campaign is the first time I've met you, Sarah, or Dane. Like this is the first time we've ever I've ever seen either of you.
I should have clarified that better. So the main meeting point for all of us is Emily and Sierra.
Yes.
They bring us all together.
My connection with this was, so I met Sarah. I almost said Sierra, just because it's the name. I met Sarah up in college. We would play D&D together up there. And fast forward a little bit, she mentions to me about an opportunity to join a group of her friends every Friday night doing D&D. And I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. Like, I've heard one or two things about the rest of the group, Rosemary Studios, but I haven't had much experience. So I don't know how new Greg is to all this, but I feel like I'm full on baby to this group where I don't know anyone.
Oh, I'm a veteran.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I grew up with Greg. I've known him since I was like, 6, 7.
Actually. How long? Yeah, no, about 6, 7, somewhere around there.
6, 7. We've known each other a really long time. I met Emily at 14. We got into D&D about when I was 16. We were playing D&D together. When I started DMing, I had Greg in my campaign and Megan in my campaign. And Emily met them through a school group we were all in. And so like that's how we were all connected. And then we went and served missions, came back, met Sarah, and then Sarah introduced us to Dane, not to be confused with the NPC Dane. And Rosemary PG Studios was something Emily and I came up with right before we went on our missions. So we came up with it during COVID, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah. So then we actually started doing it when we came back.
The campaign that you ran was the Permillion campaign. That's the name I got mixed up earlier. And that one ran for about a year. It was like 8 hours once a week. And it was
it 8 hours?
I believe it was 8 because we would start at like 10 o'clock, like 10 p.m. or something, maybe 12.
No,
it was like 6. It was a long time. But it was like a good chunk of time that we would just set aside every week, and it was a good time.
That's true.
And we didn't even finish
during
it.
COVID.
Yeah, during COVID. So we transitioned from in-person sessions to out-of-person sessions online. But because of that, we are relatively comfortable playing Dungeons and Dragons together. That's at least where I got most of that from. And that's why the transition was like so easy. Like I feel like I don't even know Dane or Sarah all too well, but there's some pretty chill people.
I don't mind being called Merilla.
Completely agree with you, Scarlett.
Sarah. No.
Scarlett, I completely agree with you.
Actually better. I might respond better. Because our names can sound kind of similar. But, whatever. I like being called a Padawan.
Oh, yes.
I feel like I'm too old for that.
Yep.
That was a good question.
Question number 2 on the sheet.
Yes. Question number 2. Sarah, this is for Sarah. How do you share the limelight in a campaign?
Ooh,
If that makes sense.
this
If
is
it
a really
doesn't,
good
you can
question.
ask.
Sharing the limelight in a campaign. Well, obviously Merilla is the most important, so why would I have to do I'm 100% kidding. 100% kidding. So I think Merilla is my most talkative character that I've ever played. And so I've actually had a couple moments where I'm like, I need to shut up right now and let other people talk. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but there's a couple times where someone's actually talking to Dusty. I don't know why it's Dusty, but then Merilla like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why did I do that? It's just so eager to talk. But other than shutting up, something that I've been trying to do is to refer to the other characters. Like, oh, Dusty, like, aren't you afraid of bunnies? She doesn't actually say that, but stuff like that. Like, oh, like, don't you do this? I think what Merilla has done much more of, though, is referring, or what I've been doing with Merilla. Sorry, see, I was is way to verbalize it. We talked about it before after a session one time, but how like Merilla talks to the other characters. Like she calls Nuri a pointy ear sometimes, and that reminds us that Nuri is an elf. Like that is an important aspect. I forget what she said about Dusty, but like most obvious one is Dane's character Douse, like blue boy.
Blue boy.
You
I
know,
always
Classic.
forget that I'm a short character.
oh yeah,
foot-
that too. Sometimes
4
yeah, we
foot
do
tall.
forget about that. And
Who's
it's really funny.
second tallest in our campaign?
I think you're the tallest, and then I'm the next tallest.
Okay, I was just
Probably.
I'm like 5'11" or something.
Yeah.
So would you say, if I heard this correctly, Sarah, I almost called you Merilla.
I mean, you can. I don't mind.
Is that how you share the limelight? Is to be conscious of how much time you're taking up in your own talking, and also by actively asking the other characters questions about themselves and making comments on how they look to kind of try and make them seem more prominent.
I don't know if Merilla asks a lot of questions. I mean, especially when I'm thinking about Nuri.
Nuri's a little
a little bit more. A lot more. But yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to like draw out different aspects that like might go under the rug. Like how Dusty wears wrappings. Like we're not always like talking about it. It's a very visual thing, so it's very passive. So bringing that up again, like, oh hey, remember this thing about Dusty? Oh, remember that's also kind of a mystery about him. Also, why is Amaris a half elf? Like, what's the other half? Half pointy ear.
a human.
It's not. Is it always? Anyway, I'm overcomplicating it, obviously, but yeah, I mean that's what I think I do. If you think I'm taking up too much time, just somehow give me a desk glare. I don't know. Roll 20 chat, Merilla, shut up.
No, you're doing great, Merilla.
Oh, good.
We do have
Awesome.
an
Okay.
awesome question in the chat. Kind of follow up to the last one from Scarlett.
Oh yeah.
She says, or Scarlett says, D&D is easy to get into. What's kept y'all coming back to it for so long? Good
I
question.
would love to answer this question, if it's okay. Is it okay?
Yeah. Vent. Just rant. Go.
Release.
Okay, I have an
Release.
obsession with D&D. It's true. It's kind of a little over the top, but also not. So, for me, I have actually studied the like medical benefits of D&D, and it's actually pretty good. I've done a whole paper on it. Yes, I love D&D. So D&D is actually good for like people to work through problems like anxiety and depression, or if they have like a specific problem, like it helps you discover yourself, it helps you become more confident because you're running through scenarios in a safe place. Because then when things happen in the real world, people have become more capable of handling it, and it also helps people become able to make friends easier. People actually use D&D as a way of therapy, which is so cool. Okay. Gotta keep myself under control.
If the microphone might cut you off.
I know.
Calm down, Nuri. No.
Calm down. So from like a mental health standpoint, D&D has huge benefits to people, which a lot of people don't even realize. And it can help people work through a lot of tough times. And for me, it's helped me work through a lot of tough times. And so I always keep coming back to it because one, it's just so much fun. You get to hang out with your friends. You get to have these grand, amazing adventures, do these incredible things, even if you physically can't do it. Like you can go and save the world, even if in your life it's falling apart. And that gives you a sense of like control in your life, that you can do something. Even if you can't save your life that's falling apart at that moment, you can still go into this fictional world and be a hero and help other people, which then builds your bravery and just self-confidence in the real world. And then you get these amazing experiences with your friends where you're not saying, oh yeah, I played this game where the characters did this and the characters did that. But you'll notice when people talk about D&D, they say, oh my goodness, it was amazing. We did this and this, and then Greg did this, and then this happened. And they talk as if they were actually there, as if we had actually gone through this experience in real life. Because
or
that
in
is
our
just
case,
how...
we start calling each other the characters' names.
Yes, like real, because it is real in a sense. Our brains have a hard time telling apart reality from fiction. And so when we're running through these scenarios where we're fighting this Hydra or like our friends falling off a cliff, our brain is actually reacting as if that's happening, but it's in a safe place. So it's okay. So like, I could keep going on and on. Again, I wrote a whole paper essay on this.
Out of curiosity, how many pages was this paper?
I think it had to be like at least 8 pages or something with sources. So I had to actually cite medical sources that had been done on D&D, which was really cool.
Ooh.
So yes, D&D is amazing. And the joy of it is just being with your friends. If you're not having fun doing D&D, even if it is traumatizing for a little bit, something's not right. And
I think Scarlett there's hitting the nail on the head. It was like, yeah, it's the same thing with people who watch football, where they get that adrenaline rush or the excitement when their team touches down as if they were there, kind of thing. Where it's like,
yeah, that's really cool. I personally really like D&D because it allows me to like flex the old theater bone. I really like film production, art, all of it. If it's a liberal art, I enjoy it. And this is one of the places that I can really play into it. I can write a story. I have a whole like Dusty is something I've poured a lot of effort into. He's not just a character, he's a story. He's something that I've worked on, I've created. And so I'm able to see that creation play out. And I'm able to work with it and like figure out what's going on almost with Dusty. It's just like writing a novel, honestly. It's really, really cool. And it's a lot of fun. And I also get to hang out with wacky, crazy people, like all the people around me.
You're calling me wacky.
No, I'm calling Sarah wacky.
Oh, that's okay. You can call me wacky.
In a good way. But it's just a lot of fun. Like we get to hang out, we get to talk and play. Like even if we like, I don't need to have like a whole like broadcasting setting. Sometimes I even forget we're streaming. Like it's just so much fun. It's so good to be around people that you have fun with. And that's what
Oh, for
D&D
sure.
is for me.
Currently for me, so there's two answers for this story. There's one, for me, currently it is acting as my social outlet because I am usually home on my own during most of the day. So just because I'm in the middle of looking for a job. So it's like, okay, well, this is where I get to be social because I don't know where I'll be in the next how many months. But the other thing is I've always loved stories, just the whole arc going through learning everything. Um, I served a mission. On my mission, I had a lot of times where me and my friends would, or me and my companion would be together, and they'd ask me about a game. I would walk them through the whole. So I'm a gamer. I would love the stories of games like Halo. I went through the whole arc of Halo, what that was, explaining it to them. It was basically like a bedtime story for my companion. But
Halo was a bedtime story. That is really funny.
oh yes, well, it was. There's other games as well. I did Zelda and a few other ones, but it was just one of those like I was always intrigued of just following a storyline in this adventure, and D&D is kind of continuing that, but I also get to make it as well. Yes, Scarlett, epic bedtime story.
Super epic. Cool. I'll try to be brief so we can get to everybody else. Speaking of sharing limelights, so I'm gonna go with the biggest thing with D&D. So very much unlike I might be assuming Sierra and maybe a little bit Emily. When it comes to mechanics and like numbers, which the D&D has a lot of, I am so bad. And I honestly, it's not my jam. But something that I really love and that really entrances me about D&D is very much also story, 100% story, and like getting to interact in a fantasy world in a way that's very believable. Because yes, you can write, and in a way you are interacting with all your different characters, but it's not the same. It's not the same. But the best thing, I think, is understanding perspectives. It's like, for example, Merilla and I are not the same person. Merilla can be super sassy. She's way more talkative than I am in real life. And she has a couple other things that we don't know about yet. But I think it's a very interesting way to get to learn and to put myself into somebody else's shoes. Because then sometimes I actually end up encountering those similar things, as far as I can tell, in real life. And I'm like, oh, hold up a second. I know where you're coming from. I've like stepped into those thoughts a little bit. And I don't know. I think it's cool.
You're like making a paradigm shift for yourself. I like that.
Yeah. Because like there's lots of things that Merilla has thought about and has considered because she's old. I'm not old. And I've been around a lot of old people for a lot of my life, but I never like super started putting certain puzzle pieces together until I started and have been playing Merilla. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's so saying this. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, you kind of like some of them, a lot of them, like you already know, but then you don't realize you know them until you like try to put them into action. It's like when Merilla is talking about like what is after, more or less, and like we kind of know what that is, but Merilla doesn't. And okay, she actually has a lot of things with that, which I won't spoil because I think it's much better to have like in story and whatnot, and also her experiences with those that she calls family, and how she reflects on that as being past instead of present or future. It's like
The lore.
lore!
So much lore. It's such a shame we're not like playing the game because then we could like explore the lore. We could get new lore. It's okay.
Oh, something that
Commentary's
is very
good,
similar
too.
between me and Merilla, I will say, is unicorns. I think unicorns are great.
I agree.
But I have a very particular version of unicorns. So we'll see. I don't know if Emily has the same version. We'll find out. Anyway, sorry. Next question.
All right. The next question is for Dane. Will you roll a d8 for me, please?
Yes. I got a number 8.
No,
An 8?
I mean, I've never heard of bloodthirsty unicorns, but that would be interesting.
I've seen a few horror games that have it.
That's awful. Why the
They're
heck would
they're
someone do
usually
they not understand what unicorns are? Like, come on.
Yeah, no. I've seen that too. Spooky.
You can see Sarah's just holding back so much right now.
Anyway,
Dane,
but
did
I
you
learned
say you got
something
an
new
8?
today. Thank you.
I got an 8.
Sorry.
Okay.
And I do have
So
a few
for-
questions I can ask as well for other people. But yes.
Oh, okay. So for question 8, how do you get hyped for a session if you're tired?
Oh, that is a good question. That has not happened yet for this group. But I think a lot of it is just comes down to going back over the previous session a little bit and kind of remembering where we are and what it is. Like going through all the emotions of the previous session so that I can relive sort of the experiences and the emotions and the joy I had with that to kind of get me into the mindset of where I'm going to be for the next session. And so like with the one session we had where it was a lot of just walking around the city for Douse, it wasn't the most fun thing, but when he going through and realizing, being like, oh yeah, I just fought a giant beast and the town is in an uproar, and putting myself into that position so I'm more in the character's perspective, I got a lot of enjoyment out of it instead of just being like, oh yeah, he's walking around the town and whatever.
He rolled a 9. Yay.
Yeah. Putting myself in the character's shoes, I guess, would be another simple way of saying
That is an awesome way of doing it. I like that.
it.
The Holy Light one, that is funny. Repeat trauma. That's funny.
My trauma with the sheep.
Horrifying.
Bloodthirsty sheep.
Oh my gosh.
Guys.
They were after him. You don't know their true intentions. No one asked.
I know, right?
Why hasn't
We
Dusty?
did.
Yeah. Okay.
Step it up,
Dusty did ask, and they said they wanted water.
They did.
They did, but I don't think he told me.
Oh.
What's really funny is Dusty had a water skin on him, but it's fine.
Okay, Greg, will you roll a d8 for me, please?
That's going to be a 6.
A 6. Okay. So this one's a little complicated. If it doesn't make sense, just ask for me to clarify it and I'll put it in another way. So if someone is awkward with role play, is there anything you can do to help them become more comfortable while you're playing a session?
Absolutely, there are things you can do to help them out. I myself am, I feel that I'm pretty comfortable when it comes to role play. I've been doing it a long time. But there are times where you'll see, and as you start out, you kind of go through this process where you are uncomfortable. You just natural, because this is like a new thing. You're around a table with a bunch of nerds, and you got all this dice, and aside from like the funny bits, it's like sometimes you don't even know the people very well. Sometimes, like I said, Dane and Sarah, I met you first day of the campaign. Like that's just how it is. But
Session 0.
Session 0, exactly. And there's going to be some discomfort, especially starting out. As a player who's more comfortable, or even as a player who's not necessarily more comfortable, you can absolutely help other people role play. You can bring them in. Honestly, your character can serve as a tool in your hands. D&D is supposed to be fun, and being uncomfortable is not very fun. One tactic that I've found can be very helpful is using your character to interact with their character. Not in a pushy way, more like in a buddy way. Make it so your character's friends with their character. Like, have relationships between your character and theirs. And, like, try to look for patterns. What do they like to do? And do more of that. Some people like the combat aspect of D&D a lot. Some people like the role play of D&D a lot. Don't be shy to ask them questions about their characters. Basically, the short version, if you note that someone is having a hard time, whether they feel, you can kind of see that they're a little uncomfortable, they're not coming in as well as the rest of the party, or even if you yourself are feeling those ways, bring that person in or put yourself in. Don't be afraid to help them, and help them being play with them. No one really likes being left out, and if you can involve them, then that's going to be the key to getting them to have fun with D&D, getting them to come back. Sometimes you'll have people leave sessions because they don't feel like they belong. But if you play D&D with them, they're gonna want to stay. And not because you've manipulated them, but just because you've helped them see that they really do belong. They really do serve a purpose there. So involve them, involve yourself, and that will help people get more comfortable and that's just kind of how you make friends 101. But just be their friend, play with them.
Super solid answer.
That was
Can
beautiful.
we think of an example of that happening in something that we've done?
Like on this?
Yeah. Not like this video thing, but in our past sessions.
Yeah, in our sessions.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'd say Merilla a lot with how what you said earlier, where you're always asking people about them or whatnot. Or maybe not about them, but the way you try to involve them in the role playing or so that's not all about you, but sharing the limelight, that question.
Yeah.
That does it as well. Because for me, it's so much easier to role play when someone else is role playing.
100%. It's actually impossible to role play if someone else is not there to talk back to you. It does not work. Specific example, maybe when, the murder mystery with Guildward and Kaya, there was the one part where Merilla asked Dusty, and she let him roll and stuff for the powder that was on her upper face and whatnot. That's a point. She was like, hey, this thing, I don't know. Can you check it out? Or she was grossed out and she couldn't approach the body because she's like, what the heck? Dusty, can you help me?
Yeah.
Second dead body she found in 1 day, 2 days.
Yeah, what was it too? Yeah,
Did
no.
she technically find the first? Anyway, we're not going to
She
get
created
into
the first one.
Yeah, no. That's actually a really good example of that concept, especially starting out with this campaign. I was a little bit I was not as quick to roleplay, and partially because that's Dusty's character. He's a very it's I don't know you.
but I'm not going to run
corner,
away because I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, but that is a good example. That was really fun for me. I felt included. I was like, oh, that's really cool. She knows he's a druid. He probably has medicine stuff, and lo and behold, he does. So yeah, that you involved me. That was fun. That was good.
Good beans.
I feel so proud of you guys right now.
As you should be.
Ooh. We got a question from the Holy Light One.
What's
What
y'all's
is your
favorite die slash
Ooh.
dice?
Ooh.
now we're
Let's
talking
start with you.
design or we're talking D4, D20?
See, that's the nerd right there.
I mean,
Mm,
currently my favorite style of dice is, I don't know if you can see this one, but it's got like sparkles and blue and maroon.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Oh,
multicolor
so
number.
model
we're
sort of
talking
thing.
number. We're talking like D4, D20, D12. What's our favorite?
And then there's like metal
type
dice,
of
there's
die?
plastic dice, and then there's sometimes wooden dice. Those are really,
there's
really
gemstone
crazy.
dice.
And then kind of like it's not gel, but it's like the lacquer that's first a liquid and then molded and then hardened. I don't know. I don't know what it's called.
Fantastic dice.
I
is
think
what
there's
it's
some
called.
glass dice, and I'm like, what?
All
Well,
right, he
Dane, what
says
is your favorite numbered dice?
number dice. Ooh, that's a hard one. Oh, call me basic. I like D20s. They're just so
D20s.
nice.
They are
And
the
rolling
dice
them
of
is
fate.
fun.
So
The dice of fate.
That's some pretty like
Followed
solid
closely by
choice.
the D100, even though I don't have one.
Mm. I
Merilla.
really like the look of the 1D10s and the 1D8s.
Oh, do you basic? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be basic.
No, that's Scarlett. I think she's calling me basic.
Oh, okay. See, I just did that again. Maybe it's a personal thing. Anyway,
Okay,
that's so
Greg,
funny.
what is yours?
My favorite, it's been a toss-up, and it's really hard for me to decide between two. The D12 and the D4. And both of them are like hardly used. Usually it's a D6. When you roll damage, it's generally a D6, a D8, or a D10, because those are the weapon damage types. And as generally I play Paladin, and so D10s are very satisfying for me. But there's something about these dice. This when you roll like 6 D4s, you have laid a trap for anyone who steps on them. You feel like
I'll
this
drop.
die is the only die that genuinely can like damage someone. Like it genuinely does a D4 of damage. And that's hilarious. The D12, on the other hand, is just like as I love martial classes. They're beautiful. And this is like if you can get a D12 on your rolls, you're set. Like that's the die you're seeking after. And so there's the funny and then like the covetousness inside of me of desiring to roll a d12 for damage. So it's
I
a
like how
toss up.
it's
I like both of them.
covetousness instead of power hungry.
I
Damage
desire
hungry?
it. I want it. I want to be able to roll. Imagine you're a fighter. You've got multi attack level 4. You attack 4 times with a lance. You're mounted. You can attack 4 times plus your bonus action because you got the action 8 times plus your bonus action because you got the action surge. You get an additional bonus action. You get 2. So that's 8, 9, 10. 10 D12s. Could you imagine rolling 10 D12s onto the table? That's just a flex. That's a big move right there.
You roll those, and the
My
DMs
brain
immediately
just
tells you to
like
get out.
right there.
It's just really satisfying. I have not pulled it off, but one day, I'll pick a barbarian up sometime. I'll fight her. Something. We'll see what happens. Fun times.
Should
Those
just
are my
do the
favorite
fighter
dice.
like you're talking about with the lance and mounted. For me, it's kind of a toss up. I like D8s because bards. I like D6s because rogues. But I think the D20 probably. Okay. I'm really torn between a D8 and a D20. Because like D8s are just pretty. You can't really see them, they're just pretty. And then you like have it like the outline of one on something, like on a picture. It looks so cool. It's a diamond. But a D20, is just like, yes, I am a nerd. Aha.
That's so good.
Why? Yes, I play Dungeons and Dragons. How
Yes,
could
I
you
do.
tell? Oh,
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel.
I will say it is funny playing other board games. And my family would be like, "Oh, we got this weird dice." I'm like, "Oh, I know what that dice is actually, or whatnot." We come
It's
into a
not
board
weird.
game.
It's crucial.
Right? I didn't know there was other sided dice until I started D&D. I thought there was just 6s. So
Like,
mind
we only
blown when I
have-
found out there was a D20.
in D&D, we only have like 7. And there's even more than that. And the 7, technically, the D10 is also a D100. It's printed. So, like, you have the numbers of the first digit, the number of the second digit.
Mhm.
You roll both. That's a D100. And it's randomized. It can hit any number.
Technically, that's a percentile dice and a
Oh,
D10.
yes. My apologies.
Who
My
works as a
apologies.
D100?
Are you mocking people that wear glasses?
My apologies.
I've got some glasses.
But what's
That's true.
really fun,
I got
that
They're
Twenty
blue
looks
light,
good on you.
but
Looks good on you, Dane.
thank
What's
you.
really nifty though is there's like a ton of other dice too. And Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really use them, but there's like, and they're fair dice. Yeah, I could get into fair dice. They're dice that can roll and like accurately have like a spread between all the numbers of like the probabilities and stuff. And so basically, you will be just as likely to hit any of them. And there's lots of different fair dice. These
But
we
where's
have
the fun
7.
in that?
Yeah, where's the fun? Weighted dice are so much better. You can roll a natural 20 anytime you want. But yeah, there's lots of other dice. I'd love to implement that. I'd love to implement that into D&D sometime. But
More dice.
wish-wash.
Scarlett E asked, what did y'all think of the new D&D movie? Have any of you guys seen the new
I
D&D
have not
movie?
seen it yet.
Same.
It came out this last week. Is that
Yeah.
right?
I also have not seen it. It's a little bit more intentional for me though, but I have like actually been hearing some fairly positive things. So I'm like,
I've just been seeing the potato ads for Lay's potato chips, and they get me every time. It makes me laugh. It nails the goofiness of D&D. It's fantastic.
I have seen the D&D movie twice now.
twice? Okay, that says something.
Without spoiling anything for people who haven't seen it, it was pretty good. It's really funny. It's a really good balance for people who are super into D&D and people who haven't really heard of it before, who are kind of still stuck in the older era where it's like, demons. And that's only for 30-year-old guys with no families who live in their parents' basement and only drink soda pop. Like that stereotype, it helps break that. It helps them get a little further in and like see, oh, this isn't evil.
I'll have you know I'm upstairs, not in the basement. Okay.
I'm in a basement.
Same. I'm on the
But it's not my
middle floor.
parents, so okay.
That's so funny.
So like from that point, it's really good. It's really fun when you watch it. You can see the points where people are making saves. We're like, oh, they just made a charisma and it succeeded, or like, oh, they just rolled a nat 1, or like, oh, they failed their wisdom saves. Like it's fun to see those things. They do a pretty good job of including all the rules and like the monsters. So that's really cool. I do have a couple pet peeves. One about the bard, just a little bit. There was no seducing dragons. There was no seducing at all.
Really?
That's totally spoiler.
I thought
I
your
think
pet
that would
peeve
be a
was gonna
positive
that they
thing
led
because
into
bards
it.
get such a bad rap. And if they're trying to like break the stereotypes and the misconceptions, I feel like they would have to do that. But
Yes,
mean-
I'm a bard who was a seducer. So
okay.
I seduced everyone. I was the classic one. Seduced everyone. I
Not
seduced
helping
the dragon. I did
stereotype,
it
I see.
all.
That's so funny.
But okay. I loved the bard. But the other thing that bothered me about the bard was one, they did not cast spells. Not once. And I was like, that is such a crucial part of being a bard. Like that's
Really?
half their class is casting spells.
Yeah,
And he
if they
never
don't cast
cast a
spells,
spell.
they're just a rogue, right? Like,
I mean, it is true that
bard
you don't have to play a class in a super rigged way. That's one of the reasons why I love sorcerers, is because there isn't like a sorcerer stereotype. It's literally whatever you do with your character. But yeah, that is really weird.
So like that was a little like it's not a deal breaker, right? It's like, okay, would have been nice if he had some magic, but I can see why they didn't give other magic users more limelight, you know. My other and
CGI.
final pet peeve, as everyone can guess, is the druid. You can't be an owlbear. It's a monstrosity. And you cannot transform so many times as that girl did in one scene. I think I counted it. She like transformed 7 times. And I'm like, you
not
can't do that. Especially
Greg,
not at
you're holding back
all.
on us.
apparently. I mean,
That's so funny.
So
So
those
wait,
are my
so
only pet peeves. Besides that, amazing movie. It is filled with comedy. Really shows like a really sped up version of what a D&D campaign is like. It's brilliant. You just get to see what you're imagining on the screen, and it's like, this is great.
I'm gonna petition to Emily to see if I can turn Dusty into an owlbear just to spite you.
You know, okay,
It
homebrew
can't
stuff
happen.
that is a thing.
Not even
I
a
will
druid of the
allow it.
land, so I don't even think I can match the CR. But we'll find out.
I'm just like, no, you can't. But you could do a mimic.
Gosh.
Oh man.
Different kind of monstrosity.
So great movie. Suggest seeing it. It was good, especially if you have people who are kind of interested into D&D but are still kind of like suspicious of it. It's a great way to warm people up. Okay.
Maybe I'll loosen my very strict boycott. Maybe.
Understandable reasons of the boycott. It's understandable.
Sierra, roll a d8.
I do?
Yeah. What do you mean?
It's your turn.
It's your turn.
Is
We
it
all went
my
around. Roll a
Oh, wow,
d8.
okay. I'm rolling a D8. 2. Am I answering my own questions?
Yes.
Okay. How do you share the limelight in a campaign? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So, for me, I have a problem where I can steal a lot.
You have a
being in the
problem where you
spotlight.
could steal a lot? Oh, okay.
in the spotlight, steal the attention in a campaign
Kleptomaniac.
of attention.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
So that's something I've been like personally like trying to be more conscious of as the years have gone on while I've been playing. I'm like, I really should do this more. I should do that more. So some things I do to share the limelight, because I am a hog, is I actively ask other people questions. Like Nuri is like obsessed with asking questions.
And note taking immediately.
And note taking. There's a whole bunch of lore to these stuff of her. I know, you'll just have to actually talk to her. But
like how she really wants to find her husband, but she's also afraid to.
gotta
Like
just gotta ask
what?
it.
And she's also afraid of shadows, and then her husband travels through shadows.
Then shadows, drow elf, dark elf, evil.
The shadow
Master-
knows.
BBEG.
That's super old reference. Anyway.
Yeah. So asking other people questions helps a lot to just help them feel included. It also helps you connect more with them. Then when stuff is going on, you'll actually be like, hey, you know how to do this. Like, hey, come do it. So kind of like Merilla did. And And then I just try to be like conscious of like, how much have I talked this session? Have I been talking a lot? Has this person got a moment to shine yet? Has this moment allowed someone else to shine, or am I taking it? And if I realize that I'm kind of doing that, I try and step back. I try and just not talk as much and let other people do it. I like to fix problems. I'm a problem solver for other people. So if someone isn't solving the problem or talking, I'll always try to step up and be like, okay, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to solve this. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but every time we're dealing with the guild people, I don't talk. But that's because all of you guys have great ideas. You guys know what to do. And that's like a thing I do for myself. And also like there's character stuff involved with that, because why not?
Yeah.
But that helps me to like take a step back, is be conscious of the actions I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I've talked a lot. Let's step back and just let them handle it. Unless they're completely at a stopped point, then I'll step in. But just like, leave it be. It's okay. And when someone else is like, when Douse was falling into the well and all this crazy stuff was happening, instead of like being on my phone or doing something that's distracting, like stacking dice or whatever, I'm actively paying attention to what they're doing, because then it shows that I'm interested, and it helps me mentally be like, they are the center of attention right now, and this is amazing what they're doing. Because then I get invested, and when they roll that 120, I'm ready to jump up and be like, yes, you did it. And it's like a football game. But I have to be in that mindset of like, they are the center of attention. Let's listen. What they're doing is awesome. And so that was a long spiel to say, pay attention to people. And it's great, and ask questions.
Yeah, that's like super another
Amen,
like
hallelujah.
super epic answer. Because like not only does that help share the limelight, just like I just was thinking through this as you were talking, like not only does it help share the limelight, but it helps them know that they are in the limelight. And so it's kind of like, oh, like I have like a moment here. This is cool. Oh, the people I'm playing with are interested. Let me like put more effort into this. And also like when dice rolls are made, like, oh, the D20, it's also even bigger to them because like, oh, I did it. And they notice like it's also big to them, and then we get table camaraderie, and it's good.
Let's actually go.
Yes.
Nothing's more fun in D&D. The rolling of the D20 isn't the fun part. The fun part is the reaction afterwards. The reason the D20 is so cool, or like rolling a natural 20, the reason it's so cool is because we know what's coming. We know how cool it is. We understand already, and all of us are hyped. There's a mathematical probability, but that's not what it's about. It's about like, at least for me personally, it's like we're all together and just we're going crazy. We can't believe that just happened. That is so cool. Like, it's just so much fun. D&D's a cool game, you guys. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a pretty cool game.
I feel like the same thing happens with natural ones, but it's kind of like the opposite effect. When it happens, everyone's like, no. We're all just like holding our breaths, waiting for something terrible to happen.
I mean,
And it's
it
so
depends on what you rolled the natural one on.
Yes.
Death saves are
Yeah.
the most stressful thing to roll a
As you
natural
know from
one
experience. That was
Yes.
Yeah, your character almost died session 1, didn't he?
for. He did.
Almost like 20 minutes into the game, dead.
It's crazy. That would have been so sad.
New character.
Dude,
He
Megan would
never
have been
was
really
any of our-
upset with me.
Any of our characters can die at any point in the campaign. There's a gem shortage. There's like, that's kind of scary. I know what I do, but like my heart would be crushed.
You know what you're gonna do?
Yeah, I know what I do, but like,
Yeah.
my heart, I don't know if I can take that. Dusty's my boy.
I have a backup character just in case, but it is one of those like, I think it is you're invested to your character. But I was gonna say also, I do think that's one of the things I love about D&D as well is when that is actually a risk or a possibility. Or like, I don't know. For me, it's one of those: the greater the risk, the greater the reward kind of a scenario. So it's like if there is the risk of actually losing this thing, like it's so much better when you don't.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually one of the things I think that I like offhandedly heard it from someone that in D&D, when your characters die, they're dead. And I think that's one of the things that like more solidly caught my interest is like, oh, that's like a real thing. Like it's not just like oftentimes, we compare D&D to like adults playing house, but they solve the arguments with dice instead of childish explanations that are easily forgotten of because children forget things. But instead it's like, oh, it's not just entirely make believe, it's like solid real-time consequences.
I've heard so many stories of DMs who are like, and your character's dead, hand me your character sheet, and just rips it. And I'm like,
that would
There's
hurt.
time to resurrection, guys. There's time. Don't rip it quite yet.
If you have Nuri nearby to cast Gentle Repose, yeah.
It doesn't always happen.
This was prior to my entry into D&D and knowing that there was resurrection and all that. But I was like, what? That's a thing?
Yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed when I learned about resurrection. I was like, but the thing, but I can definitely understand because you get like so attached to your characters. Merilla's older than I am, but she's my baby in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know, it's funny.
I'm mixed about death because I love the characters so much. I'm like, just bring them back. It's okay. I'm like,
says the necromancer.
maybe reasons I play one. But like you can kind of even see it in Nuri, like when Kaya died, she was like, just resurrect her, man. Like whatever. She doesn't like see it as a final consequence because she's like, well, you guys can just bring them back. It's not that big a deal.
I thought it was really funny, like both as a character and as Merilla, just being like, what? Like, why are you saying this? Like, do you just have do you do this all the time? Because things with her, she's like, nah, that's not how you handle that.
Bring them back, man. So like from a DM side as well, like if I do a TPK, I always want to have a way to bring the party back because I was like, ooh, that was my bad, guys. Like, I thought you guys could handle this and you could not. Like, that was my bad. Like, I want a way to bring people back. And so, like, that's debatable, right? If that's something you should do or should not do. And it also depends on the players because some people can more emotionally handle that than others, I guess. You have to be in the right mindset when your people die.
This is true.
You really have
when
to.
The characters do something stupid, they kind of deserve it.
Yeah, I think it was a character's decision to do that stupid thing. I'm like, yeah, you died. Like, that was stupid.
You should not have drank that random liquid pouring from the ceiling. Like,
sometimes I miss the punishing nature of like more OG D&D and stuff like that. You just walk into a room, dead. That's it. You don't know why, you just know you're dead.
There's this one really cool scene from the Vermilion campaign, actually, the last campaign Sierra and I were in together, that like really highlights the impact, like what a death can really mean. And my character didn't even die. He just basically was putting himself to, he's like, yeah, I'll die here. So to make things brief, my character is married and his family,
character from the other campaign.
His name is Garrosh Hartfield, and he is married to Nova. And
such a cute romance.
It was adorable. I loved it to bits. But they had, I won't tell the story of how it's really cool. But basically, Garrosh, in order to better protect his wife and unborn child, by the way, she was pregnant, and unborn child, and his mom, who he found out is alive. He thought she was dead. So he's like, all this stuff is like putting a lot of pressure on him. And in a dream, this mysterious visitor offers him more power to protect the ones he loves. Sure, I'll do it. He's a paladin. He checks the person's aura. It's not necessarily fiendish. It's not angelic either. It's like a person. So he's like, okay, make this deal. Eventually, he gets to the point where he realizes a misstep in his actions, and he decides, I'm going to break this deal. He was warned there were going to be consequences if he broke this deal, but he didn't realize how severe they would be. So what happens is he breaks this deal, and as he does, he looks over and sees his wife Nora, and she begins to disappear. She falls into sort of ashes. And so he watches this happen in front of him, and he's just like, this. So he made this deal, and he broke the deal knowing that there would be consequences, and now his wife's gone, and unborn child also. Let's not forget the unborn child. He's like, dang. Like, that hit him. But that's not even the craziest part. Thinking about the impact that had on his psyche, and lots of stuff was already going on. That campaign was PTSD campaign, I swear, every character. But
good job, Sierra.
Very
Thank
well
you.
done. Very
Thank
well
you.
done. But like, this was like
Indian
the
priorities
last,
are so weird.
right? That was the last straw for him though, and he was just like, I failed everything. I failed everywhere on every measure of the imagination. This isn't the first party member that's died on his watch, and he's like, well, what do I do now? And so he gets taken back to Nova's ship. She was a captain of ship, and second in command's like, yo, where's Nova? And she's dead. How did she die? One of our party members very like abruptly is like, yeah, Garrosh let her die. And then Garrosh is like, yeah, it's okay. You had to be there. He's a really funny, it was incredible. It was so funny. It's so in character. And Garrosh is just like, yeah, I killed her. She's dead. And second in command's like, are you kidding me? She died on your watch. Because you fessed up, I'll only kill you. Everyone else can live. Garrosh is like, fine, take me. No resistance, nothing. She pulls him onto the ship. To the party's dismay, they try to stop this from happening, and he's just like, no, this is it. Like, this is where I die. And he goes in, and this is like a super heavy session, but it was so cool. She opts to spare him, but it does not seem like she's going to. She brings him, knocks him unconscious, using this magic crystal. He sees like these weird visions, this whole thing. But he like, if he had died there, like, that would have been almost a perfect sending place for him as like a tragedy, because everything he had crumpled before him, almost literally.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Almost literally. And he's just like, I have nothing left. And he did have things left. It was just the mindset he was in. But like, death can mean so much narratively. He lived. Long story short, he got his wife back. She wasn't dead. A whole lore bits. But he lived happily ever after with his 3 children, living as a blacksmith with his wife. So, yay, happy story, happy ending. But it could have ended there. And that would have been a really hard-hitting thing. I had a character, like a backup character, built and ready to go in case that happened. And I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but if we had more time, Garrosh might have actually died there. I don't know how Sierra would have ruled that, but like I don't know if you I think I told you I had a backup character. I'm like, if you need to kill him, kill him. Like narratively, that's totally fine. But like
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I will say, okay, so me being like, oh, death, have a way to bring people back. Oh, you can just bring them back. I know I seem very like, oh, there's no consequence to death. But in the campaign I ran, everyone had a backup character because death was a very serious possibility and they were almost at death every other session.
That's what it sounds like, especially if it was a PTSD campaign.
Characters died. Like characters died. We had players
died.
have to bring up new characters. The character died, made deals with sketchy deals with gods to come back to life.
That's what I love about the death, okay, is when people die and people don't have, like, the players don't have the diamond, don't have a way to bring them back. What I love to do is give them an option to bring back their party member, but it comes with the cost. Not like a diamond, like there's some sketchy deals that happen to bring back someone. And that's like how most of my resurrections happen.
Could rant about that campaign for hours. Yeah, I'll stop. Needless to say, death's important. It's a super cool narratively.
Mm-hmm.
If Dusty dies, very cool, but also really sad.
Necromancy!
Merilla will be very sad, just so you know.
Nuri would be too.
Aw,
Just so you know.
good. That's good. Douse.
What?
Yeah, aren't you gonna be sad if Dusty dies?
Would you be sad?
He mourned a little, but he still doesn't feel too attached to anyone because it's been less than a week.
Yeah, and they don't. I feel like out of all the characters, he might have the best relationship with Dusty. Debatably.
Douse, really?
Well,
Not even
I mean,
Nuri?
Douse to Dusty, Douse to other characters, like
Oh.
relationship-wise, from Douse's perspective. At least that's what I
Yeah.
kind of read into.
That's probably where it is because Nuri, he's a little annoyed with
It's
just
fair.
because, again, the whole aspect of he sees everybody as next to strangers and she's digging too deep. Merilla, I don't know how he feels
Be
exactly
careful
about
what
her.
you say, Douse. I know I'm an annoying old woman,
Careful what you say.
but it doesn't mean you have to
Listen,
be too.
lady. Yeah, he kind of just like the weird grandma. Is kind of what she's like.
There was somebody on Instagram when I posted her profile picture. I think Pirate was part of their username, and they were like, she looks exactly like a very violent but also very caring grandma. And I was like, yeah.
Well done.
Very true.
I will say Megan's character probably has the second most position that she could become better with because Megan's not pushing terribly hard to be friends. But it's also like, well, they are not interacting as much, so there isn't that stuff. But if they had interacted more,
to be fair, she is depressed, but it's okay.
Distraught.
First
Is there a
PTSD.
reason why Douse would interact with Amaris so far?
He's a very logical person, so like he would interact in the sense of like we're in the same party, we should get to know each other, but he wouldn't.
Good starting point.
Yeah, he's not going to dig into someone's past to get to know them without a good reason because he respects people's past, he respects their boundaries.
To be clear, the beef between Dusty and Douse was like 100% accidental. Like he just so happened to say the exact wrong things at the exact wrong times with poor rolls, and then they had a disagreement.
I'd like to imagine that's probably where Douse got his respective boundaries from, was prying a little too much into Dusty and then be like, oh, People have things they don't want to share. Gotcha.
Let's go.
To be clear for audience members, that interaction between Douse and Dusty, which we're all super curious about, happened in session 0. So no one else in the party really knows about it.
Yeah, they were
And-
like off by themselves having their role play moment thing.
Yeah. So like this information you're getting is more than what we have in the actual campaign.
Birthday, lore. Again,
Yeah.
lore.
Also, if you want, we have stickers that say the lore in our shop. Just saying. Just to put out there as well, the stats so far of this campaign, give or take a couple numbers. We are 6 days into the campaign. We have killed 10-ish creatures. Maybe a little more. The goblins, I can't quite remember. And the innocents we have killed is a 40-year-old woman, a mommy bunny, and a magic bunny. So bunnies are the main innocents that we kill.
Adequate.
Such a random fact.
Those
Wait,
are our
is so
stats.
like is this like Nuri's notes that she's keeping this tally, or is this like your notes and you're keeping the tally? I remember you off said like, yeah, I'm gonna start keeping tally of the innocents killed.
I think that part's more of a Sierra thing.
Okay.
I definitely have in the notes when like someone dies and stuff. It's like she's kind of, but like she doesn't have it like actually a section just for it with tick marks.
That's so funny. Okay, so the false hydra had multiple heads. Does that
Mhm.
only count as one?
Only one creature
I count.
has one heart.
Oh, so it's we're back to the hearts.
Hearts.
Full
Swear.
circle, guys.
Just wait till we
Hearts are
kill a
gonna be
Time Lord.
important,
They have
I
two
bet.
hearts.
Yeah, Time Lord. I was gonna say, is that 2? Is that double? The Lord, the Doctor Who Lord. Interesting.
One mind.
There's more
I don't
hearts.
know.
Is it more monsters?
Really though? Because I mean, he reincarnates how many times?
A lot.
What is it, 11?
11? More?
At least
Is
canonically.
it 12?
Past
12.
11.
He's supposed to only have 12 for most of the
I
series.
think
And then suddenly it's
then
like,
something
he has more
happens.
lives. Which
Yeah,
I'm
something
slightly annoyed about, but that's
That's a
just
lot-
anything.
This isn't about Doctor
It goes back to the death.
Death. Death has narrative relevance.
It does.
Sometimes you don't overuse it.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
really like sometimes I don't know why this is popping up in my brain, but and I just overhear. I don't read a lot of them, but like YA novels, like pulp fiction, fantasy YA novels.
There's
Like
kill a lot of
everybody's dying, and it's wow. And I'm like, just doesn't matter though.
yeah,
everybody's
there's a fine line between underusing and overusing death.
Yeah.
Very fine line.
Because you get things like Walking Dead where people are dying left and right. Like, okay,
They
it's
die.
just a new guy.
Yeah. Versus like Macbeth. Lots of people dying, but it has legitimate consequences that then like leads to the end. So
Yeah,
it
like
works.
each death is not just like looked over, but you walk through the consequences of it. Which I think is where the real impact of death is. Like I had read this thing where it's like it's not the character's death that makes me cry. It's seeing the reaction of their loved ones. And that's what gets me to cry. And like after I read that, like every time I see like a really emotional death, it's not unless it's a horse or a dog. It doesn't matter. I cry. But it's seeing the reactions. Like when Sirius Black died in Harry Potter. Like what made that heart-wrenching? Like his death was like, whoa, that just happened. But the heart-wrenching moment that like gets me to tear up is seeing Harry's reaction, the absolute despair, like the aftermath that really drives in the impact of death.
Mhm.
Someone needs
Thanks
to
for coming to my TED Talk.
Someone needs to knock on wood.
Hey.
Like we need to knock on wood for this because like this is
Knock it on wood.
we can't be saying all this stuff while our characters are actively in mortal
We're gonna be held
peril every
accountable.
session.
Consequences of our opinions, guys.
Oh.
That's true. I'm just gonna be like, no mercy, you're all dead.
To be fair,
Hey, but Merilla
The
was
character
serious.
I-
If she dies, she doesn't want to be brought back. But I mean, personally, I hope it doesn't come to that.
I mean, the character I have made that I have the most connection with is still alive. They're my backup for this, but so like Douse, I'm kind of okay with dying, but I'm also not.
Interesting.
I have a
More
character
It's the one
idea.
who comes after that is not. I would not be okay with dying.
Me neither. Like, there's too much on the stake at stake for that kid.
I'm not okay with Nuri dying. If she dies, she will do anything in her power to come back as an undead. I'm not
I
even
can see
kidding.
that, especially since
She
like
got
she
too much
already has
stuff
a
to do.
mission, kind of like Echo, or like this is the thing I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
More.
She pretty
It
much-
makes sense in canon.
Yeah, just so you guys
That's the
know,
best. Like it should, or it should have happened. Opinion.
she will do whatever she can to come back. She's got stuff to do. I love Nuri so much, guys. I love her a lot. Okay, this is a total side rant, and I'm sorry, I'm taking all the limelight right now. I've talked a lot.
It's okay. Like,
Come
but there's
on,
also like
boundaries.
phases, right?
It's true, there's phases. So with Nuri, what I love so much about her is she's kind of a challenging character for me to play, which I really like, which it might not seem like it, but she's just all over the place, which I love, but it's also like hard to play. And the fact that she's like always so in people's like faces and like, oh, they need some space, but like we're not gonna give them that space.
Space and
'Cause, like, for
time,
me-
Nuri. Space and time.
Because like for me as a person, I'm pretty empathetic and like I want to do what I can to help people. But I also can like get those social cues of like, okay, they need some time. They just need a hug. And like that's it. Do not pry. Do not talk about it until they're ready. Like the sensible things you guys tell Nuri to do. And she does the opposite. So I'm like, logically, I'm like, you should not do this. And even though I should know that is not what you should do, it's being like, well, Nuri's gonna go do it. And I'm like, it's a challenge for me personally just to like kind of break what is like seen as for me what I should do and shouldn't do and like do the opposite. It's kind of hard. Not in a bad way, but just like a different way to approach things.
You see a stop sign, and you're like, go.
Go. Yes.
That's so funny. I think you pull it off pretty well.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Agreed.
But I especially like how like sometimes like we as a party will emphasize and then like it becomes more like, oh. Player me is like, yes. Merilla's like, no, Nuri.
Don't do it.
So funny. Yeah.
What'd you say, Greg?
It's just really funny. One of my favorite parts of D&D, another really fun thing is exploring other people's characters and just picking their brains, just like trying to figure out how they tick and like what if you can figure out lore. I mean, that's some valuable stuff. So I always keep my eyes out. I really like doing that. So I have enjoyed Nuri. I have enjoyed Merilla, Amaris, and Douse. Even Val and Echo, like while they were there, even though it wasn't like that long, their characters were
love
so
them.
just fleshed out. They had 3 sessions. They
Yeah.
came up with backstories. I swear they're gonna come up again. Like they're gonna come up again. Knowing Emily,
I want them to actually come back in and play themselves again. Like
I'd be happy.
I miss them already.
Like one of my favorite tidbits that we learned about Echo was like at the very end, and he just slid it in so subtly. But he's like, and he takes his harp, and oh no, he said that he takes his daughter's harp. No, sorry. Okay, he takes his harp, which has the soul of his daughter inside, and he plays a couple strings.
I was like, his daughter's soul is in it.
Yeah, like what?
Lore. I'm so.
Yeah, there's also I think there was another time when he mentioned his wife, but I don't
Nice.
remember. I think he also had a lute, but it didn't. Yeah. But the harp had the soul of his daughter.
It's so cool. Oh.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, he's just like, you can go back and watch it. It's like he's just
It's there.
like right at the very end. You're like,
It
That's
was
so
a mental
cool.
thing, so I couldn't write it down.
So
yeah,
cool.
the pain is real.
Cool. So cool.
Kind of like that meme I sent earlier today, like when you're completely different spot. There's the part you just like,
Yes, you just have to wait.
That was so funny.
Oh.
Okay. So it's 9:36. We generally end our D&D sessions at 10. Do you guys want to go to that time? Call it a night now? So I got more questions, but
I'd
Do
say let's.
What if
open up-
we go? I was gonna say we open up to the chat, but also
Yeah,
we could,
for sure.
if each of us has a question that we really want to ask someone else, we could do that as well.
that's not too OP of a question.
What is it? Who are
Dusty,
you?
what race are you? Like, what are you hiding?
No lying this time.
I guess Silver Dusk already asked that question directly, so
Yes.
already
Nice
taken.
All right,
try.
Sierra, I'm rolling insight on Dusty. Did he tell the truth?
you asking me?
Yeah, you're the DM here. You're the
Inside.
host.
The DM. Yes.
Well, I mean, I do know the most about it.
Or
True.
maybe we should do this some other time, but just since I thought of it, I'll just to the wind. Like maybe someday, future brainstorming randomly, like we can answer questions from audience as characters. That'd be funny.
That would be fun.
For sure.
Good.
That would be fun. Well, to those who are watching, if you have questions, please continue to put them in the chat. We will answer them. Until we receive questions, though, we'll just ask each other questions. So, Dane, you said you had
Troopers
some
for the ones
questions
who've
written
been
down.
here
Yes.
the whole time.
What was everybody's first experience with D&D?
Good question. Can I go first?
Or what got you into it, if you wanted to think of it that way. But yes.
Okay. So, my family is a bit of a nerd family. So, my dad, he loves games, or at least playing. He likes playing. And it all started with Warcraft. If you guys know Blizzard, World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, that whole shebang. The first Warcraft game, one of his co-workers gave it to him, of which he looked at and went, it's not really my thing. I'm more into sci-fi. And he gave it to my oldest brother, and then he got hooked. Fantasy, like, from that point, like, it was just all downhill. Let's just say that. Eventually, he stumbled upon D&D and forced us chillins, us kidlets, to play. And it was torture for everyone involved because we were like 8. And if you've ever tried playing D&D with an 8-year-old, it is painful. It's a game that requires patience. And 8-year-olds, especially male 8-year-olds, don't have a lot of patience. So we run out of patience quickly. But that was some of my first experiences, was just playing with my family. I got really into it. I would even now that I think about it, one of the first like things where I like created something was a map. I was showing off the maps I've worked on earlier to you guys before the session, so I could show them now. But
Do it. They're way cool.
like, I got into Dungeons and Dragons mostly by like my family and being able to just have something my family likes to do together. So it's kind of what it was for me.
Merilla, do you want to go next?
I'm still trying to remember. Like, I remember my first, like, where it was at when I first like finally actually played D&D, but my like when I first heard of it and stuff like that,
Well, so it doesn't have to be
I
when you first
don't.
heard it, but I was mostly getting at like what got you to play it is what I was looking for.
uh, when I first heard of Dungeons and Dragons, I think it was actually the video game. This is like super long time ago, like single digits, maybe 2000s or like early 2010s. I'm not quite sure, but I didn't like fully understand what it was. But I already knew I really loved fantasy, so I was like, oh, like that sounds cool. I don't know what it is, and then I remember mentioning to my dad, and my dad was like, absolutely not. He was one of those people that was like, very suspicious about it and stuff like that. He didn't quite understand like what it was either, but I was like, okay. And truth be told, I actually promised I would never play it.
Does he know you're playing it?
Oh yes, he does. He does. He does. And so when I then got into like college later, and I had learned a little bit more about like what D&D actually was, and I was just kind of looking, I was like, well, I recognize what this is, and I recognize how some people play it. And I kind of like looked into it like more as a play and stuff, not the mechanics, because my it doesn't super stick. And it's not quite my style necessarily. So I'm like, okay, I've checked this out. I know it's okay. I'm gonna go do it. And I did like talk to my dad before, so it wasn't like hiding at all. Yeah. So I was in a class, and a classmate invited me to go play, and I was like, yes. So I like made my character sheet and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is like the world of D&D and stuff. Like these are spells and characters. I was like, oh, okay. So that was more or less my experience. More or less, I really like coming up with who my character was, and then matching that with what she did and who she was, matching it up with the mechanics. Because like if you have someone that has a necromantic spell and yet they're paranoid of necromancy, that doesn't make a super lot of sense, right? So yeah, but it was a blast. Had fun. Definitely didn't know what I was doing, but that's okay. I still don't know what I'm doing. So
That's
now my dad's like he's totally fine with it. So like we're all good. I play D&D with my sisters, and he's like right there at the table, so it's fine.
We win again.
Yes. Nerds for
Dane,
the
how about
win.
you?
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, it was so I had heard a little bit about it. I've seen it. I'd watch shows, and they episode or two would always show up like, oh, they're playing D&D tonight. So I knew it was a game, and I knew it wasn't like witchcraft or anything. But all throughout high school, like I heard some friends were playing it. I just wasn't too interested in it. It just didn't seem fun. And the idea of like, oh, well, just sitting around with a bunch of people and saying, it wasn't until I was out on my mission. For those who don't know, missions are when we say that, we're talking about going out for our church and talking about the gospel or doing something for the church for a year or two. Anyways, this particular day, I think we were told that we weren't allowed to go outside just because the weather was getting bad. And so we were in a trio, and one of my companions was like, "Hey, let's pull like I could DM and we play some D&D." I was like, what is that? Or not what is that? But it was just one was like, well, I've never played. Like, oh, that's fine. We'll teach you. And so like there's our trio, and then there was another group of another trio with us. So we had 6 people all together, and we had a session. That was my first D&D session. I was like, this is kind of fun. So we continued it for another week or two on our uh, days when we weren't busy, kind of our like weekend days, P days is what we called them. But after that, I came back home and I was like, all right, well, it was fun. I still would keep up with it. And then finally, I found out there was a club at college and I joined. But yeah,
That's awesome.
your turn, Sierra.
Okay. So that's kind of funny. To kind of set the scene, I was homeschooled and already kind of seen as a nerd and weirdo.
Let's go.
And
Join the club.
as a young girl, very concerned about my social and dating life. That was stupid to be concerned about. Thought D&D was a bad idea and kind of stupid, which is ironic, me being the one that writes papers about it now.
It's okay. It's the character arc, right?
Yeah.
That we have. It's real life.
Exactly. So it all started with Emily. And she got me into LARPing. That's like when we first like really connected as friends. Because we were at church and going around about like what we had done that weekend. And she's like, oh, I went LARPing and it was so much fun, all this stuff. And I was like, and you didn't invite me. Okay, it was a masquerade ball of sword fights. That's pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
So then she like explained it to me and I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to do this. This sounds super stupid and nerdy now. But I was like, I already committed. I want her to be my friend. I'll go. And then I loved it. So then a couple of years later, people already think we're even weirder because we LARP now. And we're in church again. And she had wanted to play D&D. She had kind of already started, but it was like under wraps. So I didn't know about it. So she was learning. And there were these guys in our ward who played, well, in our church community, who played D&D. And she's like, hey, like I want to play D&D with you guys. But they were like closet nerds. And so they didn't want to admit that they played it. And no way were they going to let a girl join them. And they were like, no, you can't play with us. And so she comes into church that day, has this great idea. She comes up, she's like, Sierra, I'm so excited. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are you so excited about? She's like, I'm going to start a D&D campaign. Let's play our own. And me internally, I'm like, no, my social standing. There's no chance of me getting a boyfriend ever at this point. That's what I was concerned about at that time.
That is so funny.
I was like,
were you correct?
I was not. I actually got my first boyfriend through D&D, so that did not last long though.
For all you nerds out there who think
We go through the history. It's okay.
this is a hope story.
Lore, the lore,
The real life lore. IRL lore.
So I was like, I had that mentality that D&D was only for losers and it was for the like guys who were never going anywhere in their life, stuck in their parents' basement. Like that is what I thought of D&D. And I was like, if I do this, my social life is over. I will have no chance. I'm homeschooled, I LARP, and I do D&D. And I was like, no.
That's the best combination though.
But it was my best friend. And I was like, you know what? If she's going to go to the bottom of the social pool, I'm not going to let her go alone. I'm like, all right, we're doing this.
She's not going to be able to make any after.
I find it hilarious because in my mind, I have LARPing and D&D swapped, where I feel like D&D is more acceptable than LARPing.
I have some videos to send you now, but
I think it varies from group to group. But so I acted all hype about it. I was like, this could be so exciting. This could be awesome. I'm so excited. And internally, I'm like, this is the end of my social life. This is where it ends. We did our first session, like 5 minutes in. I'm obsessed. I love it. All my thoughts about D&D, wrong. I actually had a better social life through D&D. I made more friends through D&D. Like, it's all backwards, guys. D&D is amazing. Don't fear it. Okay, I'm done.
Huzzah.
Well, there you go. Any questions from chat? I didn't see any pop up.
No, but Scarlet E did say the weird ones are the best ones. No normies here.
Yeah.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Makes me want to whip out my sword.
I have another quick one.
Yes,
But-
give it to us.
What is there? Does anyone have other hobbies besides D&D?
Hey, I thought we're fighting stereotypes here.
Like I said, liberal arts, the wood carving, drawing, acting, and I like playing video games.
Awesome.
I think Merilla went to go. Sarah went to go get her sword.
Well, it's actually right here beside me. I forgot I had it out earlier.
Just to keep her safe.
Gotta watch out for those robbers.
Mhm.
How about you?
It's not like super exciting. Nice.
So, Sierra, while we're waiting on Sarah to answer, do you have any other hobbies?
I do, surprisingly, which is crazy. Well, I'm obsessed with film, hence Rosemary PG Studios. So like, but that all revolves around D&D.
Okay.
It's currently.
When I said D&D, I meant playing. So if you're producing, we'll count it as separate.
It's kind of separate, yeah. I have been learning how to horseback ride. So for instance,
That's epic.
today I got to ride an English saddle for the first time, and I was cantering. I've made great progress. So like horseback riding, I love to dance. I like to ride. I like all creation of like film and media stuff. I just love it. Yeah. Those are my main hobbies and D&D.
Sarah?
So. I feel like I have a lot of like different random hobbies that I do. A lot of them though like revolve around art, even though that was my major. And is, in theory, like future career path, I still feel like a lot of that is hobby. Because then there's like things you do for pay, and then there's things that you like to do on the side. Sort of a thing. But other than that, there's writing my own stories and whatnot. And then there is random audiobook projects that I like to do. Yeah, which is a lot of fun. And then I really like being outdoors. Get to go hiking a lot where I live. It's also super fun. And then maybe you'll see it later on in the campaign, and I think Megan, who plays Amaris, does too, but I also play the ukulele. That's a fun hobby. And then something else that I do. Does read count as a hobby? I mean, technically.
Yeah, I'd count it.
It's something you do to pass the time.
Yeah, that'd be one.
Awesome.
We get Dane. Did Dane answer?
I did not. But I had also proposed the question, so it's fair that I let everybody else answer first.
Right, your turn.
Okay. I enjoy watching anime, for one. I enjoy playing video games. D&D. I am actually a programmer, so I do a lot of programming on the side. Not too much into it, but it is what I studied. Also, volleyball is one of my things I enjoy doing. I do like to get out and hang out with friends, so anything that they're doing, I will happily accompany them. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I've recently picked up drawing. I've shared a few of my pictures with the group. Maybe I'll show some eventually one day
Someday.
on stream.
Wow, we should get together and make something sometime. We also be relatively like creative brain. We should get together and like do something. I don't know what we could do, but like we should like
Maybe stream.
we could try streaming. That might be
Sorry,
fun.
I didn't know if what you were saying was sarcastic or not.
Yeah, no, it totally was. Yeah, we should. We all seem to like D&D. Maybe we should try something like that.
No way, man. That's crazy. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This was really fun to just recap, get to know each other's characters a bit, get to know each other some more, and our thoughts on D&D. Thank you so much for participating in the chat and for joining us tonight. That was awesome. And we hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we cannot wait to see you guys again next Friday when we finally get to continue the campaign. Woo!
Be hyped. Be hyped.
Be excited.
So bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Scarlett, the
Bye.
queen.
You're awesome. Bye.